Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts, and I'm pretty sure Rodney doesn't have audio, so give me 1 second to find where that is. There it is. All right.
Am I there? All right,
Hey,
I'm
he's
there.
back. All right, he's
Hey, all
back.
right. It's
Uh,
all right.
yeah,
Episode 16, just working out the kinks.
episode 15,
Oh, well, all right.
and
Cool.
the kinks have been worked out.
Yeah. Well, we were trying. We had to do an audible. I'm on my little headsetty. We don't have my little desktop mic. We fixed some things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
we had
that's
some
fine.
audio. We had some audio issues. We had some movie issues. We were gonna bring you Studio 666, but we decided in light of recent events to pass on it for now. Um, Maybe we'll come back to it later in the year.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it's something that I'm looking forward to seeing, and I started it and I was enjoying it, but we just kind of we switched things with recent events and everything. So, yeah,
yeah,
that's all right.
yeah.
So tonight we're talking Master and Hellbender.
Yep. We're continuing our not weekly trend, but a couple weeks ago and a couple weeks before that of this just lots of female-led horror, written, directed, and starring all over the place. Um, Hellbender definitely starring, but written and directed by the Adams family, John Adams, Zelda Adams, and Toby Poser, husband, wife, and daughter, starring the other sister or the other daughter, Lulu Adams, as well as Zelda Adams. Um,
Hmm.
uh, really, really cool movie. Just to start it off here.
So I don't. I mean, I didn't know how to feel after this one. Like I was glad to have watched it. I enjoyed moments of it, but overall, underwhelmed. I think is my overall sentiment with it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it wasn't great, um, or groundbreaking, but it was for me. It was fun. Um,
Yeah.
I liked the dark comedy of Zelda's character as she unravels more about her past or her family's past, and she starts to learn. Um,
Yeah, I like the coming of age aspect of it.
yeah, that was the highlight of the story for me.
Sure, because we
Um,
know what to associate this kind of dark witchness type stuff that's occurring, what we could expect, and how they're gonna go about it. So that was something to look forward to and kind of keep you invested in what was gonna happen for sure.
right, right. Um, so yeah, so it was, it didn't make you feel really. It was just a bunch of cool stuff on the screen. Like they did some weird stuff, some interesting stuff, some stuff you'd never seen before. They definitely took a spin on witches, in that
Uh huh.
there's this, and they're almost like their own race, the Hellbenders, um, like a Highlander would be, uh, its own race,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
super race amongst humans. Um,
But this one follows the rule of the Sith in that there can only be two,
right, right,
kind
and
of.
they're self replicating.
Right.
uh, so for
I wonder if that was like an intentional like I thought for a minute because there's so much about womanhood and uh, the coming of age story and what that means. And like men are like sort of, I think they're all for the most part. We won't get into details. Discarded or unnecessary,
right,
useless,
sure,
and so I think that maybe that was their intent to like have this mythos involved of their version of witches and that you don't need a man to reproduce. You have your own agency to continue your existence in another being
right.
without the use of another person, or in this case, a man, since these are women that are doing this.
That are hellbenders.
Right. So I think it was an interesting twist.
Yeah. I also, they they made it kind of ambiguous, but I wonder if this isn't the main character, the mother, not the main character, but the mother. Oh yeah, no name, just mother. Um,
Right.
Toby Poser's character. If this isn't her first child, if maybe she had a child and devoured it
Uh,
to live longer, and maybe even a second time, and
right.
and now this time she's kind of
Trying a different.
trying a different route or raising it differently, and another shot at it. Um,
Yeah, we'll have to get into it. So, I mean, we're already kind of getting into some things. So,
yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
right.
So let's
So
yeah.
overall, so and then Master is just a completely different
Oh
animal
yeah,
altogether. Different production value. Uh,
right.
different here. Regina Hall is a. I mean, you don't. Very well known, established
Yeah,
actor.
I loved her in Scary Movie. That's all I'm saying. like, like I'm sorry if she ever watches this and is like, but what about my role in this great movie? I'm like, nah, Scary Movie.
That's how I felt. Shit, who was on? I feel bad. I don't even remember her fucking name. It's an asshole thing to have done. But she plays the lead uh, actor character in the Watchmen that the HBO did.
Oh, the
Not
show.
the HBO, idiot. Yeah, the show.
The
Did you
Watchmen
watch it?
show. No, I never watched that show. No.
Shit, can't remember her name, but she was on Saturday Night Live, I think, as the show was doing his thing, and she's like, black audiences will remember me from this, 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 and this, whereas white audiences will remember me from The Watchmen. Like,
Uh,
she's just like saying like, I've been in a lot of shit, and you probably don't remember me because you're not paying attention to that. And it was a funny kind of acknowledgement to what I think she identified it as white, but it could just be like general public is going to see the garbagey superhero thing, and that's what
right,
you're going to get remembered for, and not all the cool, artful, and intelligent stuff that you've done in your career.
right.
So which is what you just did with Regina
I,
Hall.
you know,
I
I
don't
mean,
know her from anything else. I'd have to.
to
I'm
to
sure I've seen things. I just don't
to
remember.
yeah, to be fair, like I didn't watch Girl Trip or Blackish.
Hmm.
Um,
No, I didn't say
uh,
Blackish. Blackish is a sitcom, right?
yeah, yeah, I think it was. Two
Yeah.
seasons or 2 years she was on that show. I
Yeah,
just
with what's his name?
I had to bring it
The
up.
one guy.
I had
He's
to
a
I had to
comedian.
I had to bring it up. Oh, she was in Death at a Funeral, the remake, so I didn't see that one. She
Okay.
was in Law Abiding Citizen, which I also didn't watch, but not for any reason other than I'm not the biggest Gerard Butler fan. So,
I saw that one. I don't remember her in it, but I saw that.
all right.
Gerard Butler. He had
Yeah,
his thing. He had his thing for a little while,
he did. He
but
did.
I'm not a big fan.
Nope. Okay. So yeah,
So
two very
yeah,
different movies. Hellbender is obviously a B movie with like zero production, no money. All the money they had they spent on effects. The effects were actually pretty cool.
yeah,
For the most part practical. The blood looked really good. The few uses of CG were I thought were pretty good. Um, because they were kind of subtle. It was mostly just like making someone float, or when she dusted that one guy, it actually looked pretty cool.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
mean, you
then
acknowledged that it was an effect, but yeah,
yeah, yeah. Um, and Master, obviously like an A-list. Um,
Amazon Studio backed movie.
Adams on Studio, yeah, yeah. It was a thriller. It bordered on horror. There was a lot of suspense. It was
Yeah. There was
yeah, yeah,
horror elements. It was
horror
definitely a vehicle
elements.
used to progress the narrative. Uh, but yes, it wasn't strictly horror.
Yeah,
Which I mean, Hellbender really wasn't really
it wasn't really
horror
horror either. Yeah, it was
either.
more
It's
coming
in
of
the
age.
world.
Yeah.
All
So
right, so we're gonna start with Hellbender,
we're gonna
correct?
start with Hellbender. Yeah, we're gonna
Is
start
there
with
anything
Hellbender.
else we need to start off with before we just get into it?
No, I think we're
We
okay.
will. Okay, then we will just remind everyone. We
Oh
those
yeah,
were vague overviews of the films that we're watching. If you haven't seen them, and you would like to, we recommend that you do watch them before you listen to our conversation because we are going to get into all the spoilers and points and surprises of this movie, of both movies. And so watch them before you listen to us talk, unless that doesn't really bother you and you can kind of still appreciate it and enjoy it, even after you know what's going to happen. We're not going to get into all the details because I think this is the first time where both of us really just experienced them and didn't take studious notes. Is that
Right.
correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just
So
going from
this will be
memory.
interesting.
Yeah. Luckily, I watched them both today, so they're pretty fresh. And I think you
Yeah,
watched
I
them both
watched
last
last
night.
night,
Yeah.
both last night. But I mean, historically, when we do this and we are going, beat by beat,
Yeah.
we often correct each other, but we definitely miss some things or screw some things up. Sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not. I definitely have like gone through our conversations and be like, oh shit, I should have mentioned this. That one joke I didn't talk about was like fucking hilarious. Why did I mention it? I don't think it's as important tonight.
No.
But with the way that these stories go, it's going to be a little weird. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So Hellbender begins with a flashback to um, the olden times
So
of
we'll say the Scarlet Letter, uh, Crucible era,
yes,
colonial Puritan type
yes,
times.
and they have a person with a hood on and a noose, and they hoist him up on a tree branch, and they just hold him there, and
And when you say they and them, you're not talking pronouns. You're talking. This is like a coven.
yeah,
It appears these are all
yes,
women
because they're
in
all
their
women.
shrouds
Yep, yep,
of elderly, middle aged, and children
yep,
are all watching this happen.
yep, and she like she struggles a bit, and she seems to stop struggling for just a moment, and then the leg starts twitching again, and she starts twitching again. So then one of them pulls out a very steampunky
Yeah,
clockwork style revolver,
yeah. It had like
which
at least 8 chambers, maybe
oh
10.
it looked super cool.
Yeah,
And she just starts taking shots at her, all to the chest and midsection. Um, and then she kind of screams, and the bag catches on fire as she flies up into the sky,
yeah,
and the movie begins.
yeah.
So yeah, so we get that. So you're like, okay, all right. I'm gonna guess that she survived. Maybe
Right. It
maybe
reminded me
she's
a little bit of the last thing Mary saw, where there was witch deaths and twitches of coming back to life. To like, that idea is it's kind of it's a known established part of witch lore, the death and afterlife or rebirth of.
rebirth. Yeah. So I think it comes right into is she? I think it's Zelda, right? She's kind of on her own, wandering through the woods.
Yeah. Let me because is that her character's name? Zelda? No, Izzy.
Zelda's
Right.
her
Izzy.
the actress. Yeah, Izzy. Yep.
Izzy. Yeah, so the woman's hanging and the flaming, and then yeah, they get right into it where it's just her and her mother interacting. Um,
And this is
and I'm
going to be a
pretty sure
lot. This kind of dynamic is a lot of the movie where
it's
um,
really all of most
all
of the
the
movie. There's
movie.
only a few things happen
Yeah.
outside of the two of them conversing about shit.
Right. So in the first half, it's all kind of normal-ish mother-daughter, homeschool daughter stuff, and then in the second half, it becomes witchy and stuff. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So one thing I did know about their original interactions is there's a dinner where they're eating pine cones and twigs
Yeah,
and like things you would forage for off the floor of a forest.
yeah,
And to Izzy's character, this is normal.
right. Yeah, that's all that she knows. She doesn't
Yes,
expect it's just dinner.
right. So to the viewer, you're like, okay, this is weird.
Right. Someone should call CPS.
Yeah, right away. Yes, exactly. Um, she takes a swim in the river. She draws. We just kind
Yeah,
of get to
the
see what.
mother. Yeah, well, does it start with the band? I think it
Oh,
starts with the
yeah,
band,
yeah. It
right?
starts with the band. Okay, so the movie Hellbender also features a band called Hellbender, which is Izzy on drums and the mother Toby Poser's character on bass, and they both sing. And now this band is a real band called Hellbender, and you can YouTube and Spotify. Their songs are fully mixed and produced and out there in the world. Um, you know, you don't know how much the father's involved in the writing process. In the movie, Izzy takes all the credit for writing the music and the songs, but
Hmm.
who knows?
Right. So it starts off like after that first thing with the witch happens. I think they do the intro credits or whatever, and their music is playing, and then
Right,
you cut to and it starts with them singing. And I didn't get it at first, like because I don't know, it just seemed like old lady, young girl, and I was like, I wrote to myself like, is this a mother or a sister? Couldn't really tell, and then pretty quickly you get that it's mother, and the mother is gonna leave, and she's gonna go to town. What do you want? I think she says like
right,
some drumsticks and whatever.
yeah,
um, and not chicken drumsticks like I would ask for, but actual drumsticks because she plays the drums in the band.
right, right.
Give me some
Um,
KFC, extra crispy.
and actually, this moment is kind of important to the end of the movie too. So right, she's going to town, and the daughter asks for drumsticks. So we'll all remember that for later in the conversation.
Yeah, so yeah, the mother's going to town to get what they need, supplies or whatever, and she's off and exploring. When the mother goes, she just goes around the house or in the property that they own. There's no,
Yeah,
it's never addressed how much land they have, but it's perceived to be a shit ton,
a
tons
shit
of
ton. They live
acres.
on a mountain.
Yeah, and there is a state park perimeter type area next to them. But I
Yep,
would envision this as sort of the amount of property that'd be somewhat similar to the amount of land in the village, perhaps, where no one's going to go interact with them. They're just out there.
yep. So we get like a day in the life, as I mentioned before. She draws, she swims. Does she run into the hiking stranger right away, or that's probably after this?
Nah, nah, yeah, it's just like the second day
Yeah.
where they're just doing random shit.
Um,
Right.
so
It's the second day.
does she get to the
Because the
pool?
no, that's
No,
on the second
that's
day
that's
too.
second day
Because they,
too.
but I mean, we can get to it. Like the first day, all this more or less happens like with before the is the mother finds the crown and buys the crown at the thrift shop in
Oh
town
right,
on that first trip, and she brings the crown back. And it's only, but it's kind of unnecessary. The only thing that comes to pass with the crown is like it just makes the fucking cover art to the poster or the DVD. It has no
right,
significance to the story
right. She wears it in another song that they perform.
aside from the shopkeeper saying that'll be $75, and I'm like, okay, this is like an uppity goddamn town.
Oh, and the old guy going, "I know you. You were my mom's nurse."
Yeah, that's the other cool thing. That is sort of a reference where it's like, oh, maybe she was, she is old as shit, and he does actually remember her, but
He
that's
does
never
remember her,
addressed.
right? Which is cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
all right,
so then they must do something that night, but I think it's just whatever happens, and then the
yeah,
next day occurs, and this is where Izzy goes for a hike.
right. And she runs into the pool first,
Um,
because
no, just the guy
just
that's
the guy.
hiking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, right,
and
right. Because he
he's
mentions,
innocent.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Innocent guy mentions his niece Amber to Izzy.
Yeah.
Thinks that they'd hit it off if they were to meet.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
he's like just super innocent, like he's like, "Oh, I'm just been around. This is your property, or who are you?" He's trying to be cool and nice,
yeah,
and she's like, "You can't get near me. This is her Izzy's thing. I'm sick. You can't get near me.
right.
Don't come near me. Don't approach me." And she handles it pretty normally, like a normal teen. He's like, "Do you go to school?" She's like, "No, I'm homeschooled," but she's obviously awkward about it.
Yep.
And then the mother comes in from the top of the ridge there, and she yells down, "Hey!" And
Yeah.
Izzy's like, "Oh, okay, shit." And so she just like walks away, and the guy's looking up, and then she's gone, and then he like turns back. Oh my god, what? How? And
Yeah.
he has a moment, and she just like beckons him to follow, or she beckons him to follow her. Yeah, the
Right,
mother.
and they're having a little chat, or he's talking and she's not
He's
saying
talking.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not saying anything. And then she just kind of makes a hand motion and it lifts him up into the air. And she has a thought for a moment, and then with another twist of her hand, he just kind of crumbles into dust
Yeah,
onto the
pretty cool
forest
effect.
floor. Yeah, it did look very cool. Um, as far as like CG goes, it looked good.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that she seemed conflicted about doing it,
Yeah.
but it seemed like you get the sense that in general, any stranger that comes across what they're doing is obviously not welcome and puts at risk whatever they're
Oh,
there for.
sure. Sure.
So
And might talk no matter how much they say they wouldn't.
right,
She can't risk it.
right. So that happens, and then yeah, this is then she comes across Amber. I think after that.
Right. So she comes across Amber, who's played by her sister. Um, she's she's sunbathing when they she arrives. Or no, no,
Well,
no.
I think
She's
she's just
kind of
walking, and
yeah,
she says, "Hey." She sees her kind of creeping on her. She
right,
says, "Hey," and then they meet and talk, and then she invites her to come back, and they talk for a little bit. Offers her a beer, I think, right?
yeah, yes, yes, and she says to come back and bring a bathing
They're gonna go.
suit.
Yeah, they're gonna
Yeah,
have friends and swim tomorrow.
she says she doesn't have a bathing suit, and then Amber says she'll bring her one.
All right. And Amber's a pretty cool character. She's like sort of just dumb, like whatever, free spirited. Doesn't have too much weird hang-ups about meeting some random strange girl that just walked in from the woods. She's just like whatever.
Right, right. Um, and then yeah, and then she goes back home, and the mom asks what she did today, and she says she just went for a hike. Obviously, doesn't reveal that she ran into anybody. Um, doesn't They don't even bring up the guy.
Right. And so I think it's right at this point before the actual interaction. I can't tell. Maybe it's afterward, where the mother makes the stick thing. It might be after. I can't remember.
Right. Oh, also, I think during the hike, she does the eye thing, which okay, so this is a cool effect.
Right. Yeah. The
She goes she goes to this door that's locked, and she puts her hand
Oh
up
yeah.
against it, and the key comes out the back of her hand, and it's a great effect. If it was practical effects, it looks fantastic. I couldn't even tell if it was CG. It looked so good.
Well, I think
Um,
it might be a prosthetic, and what they're doing is just playing in reverse. Like I
Playing
think
in
is it
reverse, putting it into a
of it
prosthetic, yeah, with
of
a
it being
flap.
pulled into it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what it looked like. So yeah, so she takes the key out and she unlocks the door. She does a little mini ritual, puts her hand on a book, covers her eye, and then we get this. There's like a fisheye effect with this weird circle mist around the outside of the shot of just the daughter walking. So we don't know how long she spied, not for very long, but we know that she can spy at any time. Is I think all that they're showing us here, because she doesn't catch her doing anything. She just spies for a moment.
So the only thing that I'll maybe adjust to that is it seems like she makes this spying thing in the woods before she accesses it in the book. Like it seems like she makes the wood stick sculpture of it's more or less a
Oh,
cross with a ring and then sort of like a diamond shape inside that ring. Because then she does something with the pushing of the stuff into her hand and the blood. She spits blood or whatever, or cuts blood, and
yeah.
then she like releases it up into the sky like a kite or a balloon. And then it's after she does that, then she goes to the book that it looks like it's almost as if she put this security camera drone that's in the fucking
Yeah, yeah.
sky now, and she can access it, and it's floating over their woods. Is what I it's
Right,
how that's how
right.
I interpret it. Like okay,
Sure.
how so,
Yeah, no,
but it's definitely cool. Yeah. So
it's a great
it's like
interpretation. What One thing I really liked about the movie is how they they don't really explain very much at the beginning. I mean, you do get more of an explanation later, but also like what you know about witches and witchcraft is pretty much out the window. Like this is
Yeah,
a lot like The Cursed was a very kind of, in my mind, original take on lycanthropy or the werewolf story, classic werewolf story. They're like, yeah, these are witches, but there are versions of witches. They're like no other witches you've seen or heard of.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, they're creating their own version of witch, more or less, in this.
yeah. So that I thought that was really nice.
Right.
So she pretty much, I think we cut pretty much right back to her going to the pool party now, because
Hmm.
there aren't a lot of beats in this movie. It's also very short. It's like 80 minutes.
Well, yeah, and then once things start to like kind of really tumble out of control with their relationship and Izzy learning what's happening or what she's capable of, it really starts to get into a mind trippy type space. So
Yeah.
it's hard to really have any anchors for this event and this event happen because it's all just like an experience by that point. So
Right.
yeah, so she goes to the pool party where Amber has two other friends. Their names aren't really important, but she's kind of happy and she's loving it because she's never been around people at
Yeah.
all, and she's uncomfortable. Amber lets her borrow a bathing suit because she doesn't have one,
Yep.
and so she puts one on. She's like shy and
Yeah.
doesn't feel confident with herself because it's her body. And so, but she hangs out, and then they just start.
Well,
They're just having a good time,
she plays the
and then
drums, and then there's
right,
another like song bit, and
and that
she's
was it was such a fucking lame thing. Like it was like I get it, but it was lame as shit.
it was a super lame setup, but I like the cover. Like when the guy comes home, he's like, "That's an antique drum set."
Oh well, yeah,
like it was his
yeah,
drum
that was
set, and
funny.
they
Right,
took it out. Like it
right.
was
Like the fact that it was
yeah,
there, I accepted the fact that it was there,
yeah,
but it was her utilization of the drums in this like lame ass beat that sounded not cool, and their overreaction, like, oh my god, that's
yeah.
sick. Like, okay,
They could
fucking
have
relax.
they could have picked a more upbeat song
Just do something.
to overlay. So she had more, yeah,
Yeah.
more action, more drum action, I guess. Yeah,
Right. Make it a little bit more cool or exciting. It
yeah,
just felt a little bit like uninspired, like whatever. But it
yeah.
doesn't matter.
All
She
the
impressed them. They thought it was cool as shit.
I will say that I actually liked all the songs. Like
Yeah, the songs were fun.
I thought they were good. Like they're like drum and bass with a little synth, and she's got some like really nice like haunting female vocals. Like it's good stuff. Like if you're into that,
I mean, the
kind
lyrics a little weird. I think the one song was like "cut snip." Isn't
of,
that like they just keep repeating "cut snip" or something like that? It
yeah,
was
yeah. The lyrics are kind of out there, but it's good stuff.
very esoteric and
Yeah, yeah.
too
So
too heady for me, man.
okay. So the party or the hangout. After the
I, was,
drums,
I said they're too heady for me. They're esoteric. Okay. They start to bring out alcohol. The guy has a bottle of tequila. And so they're gonna do shots, and he starts pouring shots, and he's like, "Oh, this is tequila. Someone has to have the worm." And it's
right.
like, again, we're talking mezcal, but okay, got it. So he pours a shot, and the worm one's dirty as fuck. Like it's like got all kinds of dirt in it, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
and he just hands it to Izzy.
Yeah.
Like he kind of mixed them up. It's like you're looking at them and you're handing them to people, so there's no ruse here of
Yeah.
like where we don't know who's gonna get it, because then you're all gonna look at it like, oh, okay.
You're the new girl. You're getting it. Um.
She's uncomfortable at first and like
Yeah.
has hesitation because she's never eaten anything alive. She's
Right.
only had sticks
Yeah.
and leaves
She
and
tells
berries.
them that she's vegan or vegetarian. I don't remember which word she used, but
She doesn't eat animals.
yeah, she doesn't eat animals. Slap.
So they yeah, so she drinks it and she starts to have an out of body experience almost.
Right, right. And she has no idea what's going on. We can assume as the viewer that maybe it's the alcohol, but maybe it's the worm.
I think you
Um,
see the visuals. The screen starts to do little
yeah,
swirly twirlies.
yep, yep. And then the guy comes home and they run.
Swirly twirlies.
The guy comes home and they run in all random directions except Lizzie ends up with
She's with Amber, right?
Izzy ends up
Yeah,
with Amber. Yep.
yeah.
And
Which we've all done that. We're somewhere that we shouldn't be.
oh yeah,
Someone comes and so everyone says scatter.
just run. So they're kind of talking to each other in the woods, and then she just kind of comes up and starts a one-handed choker. Amber, just throws her hand off and freaks out and says you're a weirdo and runs off.
Right.
And that's the last they see of each other for a while.
Yeah, the two of them. And then the homeowner
Catches her.
catches Izzy,
Yep.
and this is where he says, "I had those are my vintage
That's
drums."
my vintage drum set. What the hell's the matter with you? He's like,
Uh,
you're staying with me while I go call the cops.
right.
And then it just cuts away, right?
Yeah, I don't. She doesn't kill him, right?
No, no, no. It just cuts away, and
Right.
it's her walking home, like her just
Right.
coming over the crest back to her house.
Yeah, and the mother's looking from up top. Oh, also, she's only in her bathing suit. She goes back to get her clothes. That's right. She goes back to get her
That's how she
clothes, and
gets
then
caught by the. Yeah,
that's
that's
how
how
she
she
gets
gets hit.
caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But and then her mother's looking, and yeah, it's like, what happened today, or like how'd it go? And like she just like it was fine, but she's like definitely like coming down from whatever high she had, and she's like lethargic and kind of confused as to what the fuck just happened to her
Yeah.
because it felt weird.
Yeah. I don't remember. Is this the part where she just says like I was with my friends, and she just kind of walks past her and goes to her room like, and the mom doesn't even kind of acknowledge it. She's just kind of
Yeah, it
like,
goes in the room.
oh shit, we're gonna have to
Uh,
talk about that later.
yeah, I think it goes pretty quickly because I did take a couple beat notes before it got crazy. Oh, and I took a note is, and we'll wait for it. Um, yeah, she goes into her room. Mom teaches her eating is power.
Right. Okay. So she did say, like, so the mom's like, how was today? And she's like, I ate a worm, and I was hanging out with my friends, and so the mom's like, oh fuck, now it's time to have the talk.
Right. Yeah, the talk, which is
Yeah.
again, there's all these different layers that I think is really cool as far as coming of age, what a and it's kind of like appropriate with fucking Turning Red coming out. Did you watch Turning Red yet?
No.
So it's the new Pixar one, and a lot of people are upset or like, "Oh, it's too niche of a movie. This isn't a broad Pixar audience." And it's kind of just fucked up because it's just happens to be about a girl coming of age and getting her first period,
Yeah.
but it's not overtly about her first period. It's that she turns into a red panda. So it's like the subtext of it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this has subtext where it's like, as a witch or this hellbender that they're being, on top of the fact that she's entering womanhood very soon, if not already, or becoming a woman.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting kind of two paths of like what a normal girl would be going through, and now what a girl with this other thing that's happening going through, and how the mother and daughter relationship is meant to kind of be hand in hand, perceived, or could be, or
Right.
should be, or this mother wants it to be for her daughter. To lead her into this experience and try to lead her the right way, because that's what this is what the movie in general is about.
Right.
Is I want to welcome you into this life or this part of your life in the right way or the correct way, the way that's most meaningful and
Right.
positive to have the best outcome.
Right. Because it's going to reveal that the mother had done some horrible things and felt super guilty about it, and the Hellbenders are very powerful, and so it's about learning to control the power so you don't make the same mistakes that she did. Which is a lot to say about parenthood. Is what you want to
Yeah,
do to your kids is you want them to grow up not making the same mistakes you did.
right.
Unfortunately, everybody's got to make their own mistakes.
Right, and it's letting go to allow them to make those mistakes and watch the pain happen. That's just difficult. Everyone wants to not let that happen. It's hard.
Right.
Uh, so
So,
here's one note that I took is like a lot of the things, their interactions. I can't tell. It seems like they happen in dreams, in like a dream world, and not like just in real life because of like what they're doing. So I don't know if it's that they're asleep or they enter some different plane of existence or that they
Right.
create these little interdimensions. But this goes on for the rest of the movie at this point. It's like they've
Yeah.
opened this up now where they have conversations that happen in places I can't
Right.
tell
Well,
where they're
yeah.
at.
Once she starts using her powers, yeah, it does get pretty surreal, and there is a reveal later from the mother, and that kind of answers, I think, that whole question there, which we'll table for the moment. So back to upstairs. So she was really pissed off too when she got home, and I forgot. She also said, "I'm not sick. I'm not sick, and I ate a worm, and I was hanging out with my friends." And
Right.
so then she goes upstairs, and now we're having this conversation. And so the mother starts it off with, "You're not sick. You're very powerful." And and I'm sorry, and I'm sorry I lied, and that it feels like a very familiar apology in any kind of movie where secrets are kept from main characters.
Sure.
Um, but this is where the big reveal starts, and I forgot what they eat
Oh,
first.
the first thing? Um,
Or does
I
she
mean,
do the? Does
it's
she do
not the
the?
maggots, right?
Does
It's
she?
not the maggots.
She takes her
Maybe
for a
it is.
walk. She takes her for a walk, and they do that mushroom spell, right?
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, they do that thing. What was that to do? Oh, to smell stuff, right?
To
The mother
smell. You
teaches
can
her.
smell
It's
blood
like
on the
she's
wind.
right. She's teaching her incantations where you mix this, and then the blood, and you do this, and you can experience this.
Right.
And the one is like, yeah, what do you smell? She's like a crow, fox.
Oh, it was two worms. It was a worm on the mom's plate and a worm on the daughter's plate. And the daughter was like, "Oh, come on, mom, can't we eat a frog or something?" And she's like, she takes her worm and puts it on the daughter's plate so the daughter can eat both worms,
Hmm.
as kind of like, here's your guided intro instead of the unguided one you took earlier.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so then they're walking and they do that spell, and it's nice. Like the mom is definitely, I think maybe she's still scared of what might happen or scared for her daughter, but she's definitely like glad that she can finally bond, I think, over this stuff instead of keep it
Yeah.
a secret. Um, so there's definitely some excitement there. I know
Hmm.
they get home from their walk and she's like, let's go to town. I want to go to town. I want to go see people. And because she's had a taste of that too, and the mom's just like, no, 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 we can't leave the mountain until you're ready. Like you don't know your own strength. It's just
Hmm.
not safe for them.
So are we expecting that the whole maggot scene occurred already then, or we're talking like I can't
No,
remember
no,
if that all
I think
happens at the same time.
no. The magazine comes probably next. I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
it's not a montage per se, but it is a lot of just like time advancing is scenes
And that's the
where
other thing too. A lot of time
uh,
advances,
uh,
and they don't do a good job of telling you, "Hey, by the way, a year
a
later."
year later, yeah. So
Okay, thanks,
yeah.
guys.
So
So,
all these scenes with her mom and her learning about her power, it does, yeah, it covers a whole year, and they tell you it real quick as a passerby kind of
well, but
note.
whenever they do the maggot scene, like I think there's a snow scene, and so I think you assume that it is winter at that point, and it started in
Right.
the summer. So I guess that
Sure.
makes a little bit of sense.
Oh, also, their first meal together was kind of important because of the different types of twigs and pine cones and whatever was on the plate.
Okay.
She laid them out into a circle and she pointed at each of them and she said, "Spring eats the summer, summer eats the fall, fall eats the winter, and winter eats the spring." And
I
that's
think,
kind of
but backwards.
or
Yeah.
or backwards, yeah. But that's kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
one of their things as a Hellbender.
Yeah.
Like that's one
Their
of
little
their
mantra. Yeah.
mantras, yeah. So between that and the what do you need from town? All I need is drumsticks. That's what you have to that's all you have to remember for
Okay.
later.
Remember these to understand things later.
Yeah. These will
Okay.
be these are the callbacks. The
If you want
neat
to make any sense of this movie, you
the,
will need to remember this.
yep. Okay.
I
So
stopped
right.
taking notes after the maggot scene.
Right.
So,
Okay. So the magazine's next essentially.
do you
Where
want to know how I describe the maggot scene?
sure, let's hear it.
Envision this is how you can picture what happens in this scene. Two girls, one cup of maggots.
Oh, sure.
That's the
So
scene.
so the setup is I guess they're mad at each other again for whatever reason, probably because she won't let her go to town. And she says, "Hey, come down here. Let's smoke a peace pipe."
Right.
And the daughter goes downstairs and she's got a little bowl and she goes, "This is um, my deal." And she takes it up and it's maggots. And apparently, because of maggots and how they live so close to death, um, it's like it's almost like a drug or like a super high from in their world how they feed how
With
they
their
feed their
powers, yeah.
how they feed their powers. Yeah.
Right.
So they eat some maggots and they go outside and they're like laughing and having a
Yeah.
grand old
Trip,
time, tripping balls.
tripping
Yeah.
balls. That's,
Yeah. And the daughter's like, "Let's fly, ma, let's fly." Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
well,
good scene.
and so I said what I said because then they start puking blood into each other's mouths.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I was like,
Uh,
you guys gotta tone it down a little bit. That's
and then
I'm
uh,
a little
and then the,
uncomfortable
and
now.
then the mom starts making smoke shapes out of nothing, and she
Yeah,
keeps
they're
the
laying.
daughter destroys them one after another, and then real quick the mom's just like, "I don't feel so good. I need a shower."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a weird transition.
Well, I mean, her daughter just puked blood into her mouth, and
Yeah.
she laughed about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. It's just
Um,
weird. It's like they're just reveling in their raw, unadulterated power and ability to just do whatever the fuck they want, seemingly. And
yeah.
it is cool. It's a neat bonding experience. It's as a viewer, you're like, it's hard to really. There's no real way to. You don't have someone to kind of it's just there.
Yeah.
You're not. It's like anything can happen at this point, and you just are along for the ride. And this is where, like, for me, the the reins come off, and it's like this movie's just gonna go do its fucking thing, and I'm just along for the ride. I can't really understand or make sense. I'm just experiencing at this point because it was all kind of grounded for the most part, and now I think for the most part it kind of starts doing its own fucking thing.
Yeah. And it gets pretty crazy. Like it ramps up and I think the ending is definitely the best part, the last, 10, 15
Yeah,
minutes. And that's what we're already up to here. I think after the year experimenting with her mom and the and
phrasing.
her powers, okay? Uh,
Just sick,
she
man.
she tracks down Amber, who's closing up a shop she works at. She pops out in the middle, or no, right in the dark, and at the end of
Yeah,
closing, and it's
yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm sorry I was so weird last year. Here, I got you something. It's like a gift. It's your bathing suit."
Get your bathing suit. I wrapped it for you.
Yeah,
Oh, also here's
these
some hair ties that I
yeah
fucking stole from
that
you
I stole
too.
from you. And she had she had her one back by the bathing suit thing, and
But then
they
she told her,
but then she told her about the bobby pins that she stole or whatever, the hair clips. And
"Here's your dirty underwear that I pulled out of the trash
yeah,
can and I
yeah.
was smelling."
And she like even throws the gift back at her and is like it's
Yeah,
like fuck you, I'm out of here.
yeah, you're weird as shit
You,
still.
you're a weirdo. Um, so then so that's like I guess the breaking point for Izzy.
Yeah, because she's like it was the only other contact she had in the outside world outside
Yeah,
of her mother, and it kind of just got broken where she doesn't get to interact with her or
yeah.
experience that stuff, and so yeah, she's kind of
And through the movie so far, we've seen some moments of Izzy wanting to go big or go home with her power. Not quite understanding why they keep it under wraps. Maybe because she was sheltered for too long, maybe because she was homeschooled, maybe because she didn't get a chance to, communicate with other children growing up, things like that. Maybe she doesn't really have empathy, right? So, um, so some pretty fucked up shit happens. We get. I don't remember the sequence. Do you know? Do you remember the sequence, or should we
No,
just jump?
fuck no, I don't remember the
Okay.
sequence.
All
Like,
right.
because it goes all over the place. Like, the mother does eventually kill that other neighbor, and right, or does that guy just disappear? No, he just disappears. She killed the first hiker.
Yeah.
There's a park ranger that confronts them on
Yep.
their property,
Yep.
and they both cover. And the mother, because the mother fucking killed the dude,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Nope, don't know where he's at." And the park ranger's like goofy as shit. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're gonna be something," like
Yeah.
because he's talking to the girl, and she makes up some story like, "Oh, could have been this thing that does this." I think she even says it could have been a
No,
Hellbender.
no, yeah, yeah. She tells him everything, and he's like, "Oh, you're funny. If you don't grow up to be this, you should grow up to be a writer."
Yeah,
And
she's like, "Oh, yeah."
I think he just kind of leaves, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
He's like, "No,
they leave him.
sounds good. I'll see ya."
Yeah, they
And that
leave
was
him
the end
alone.
of that.
Yeah, they
Right.
leave him alone, right?
Yeah, I think it was
Uh,
just a way of like addressing the fact that they killed a guy or off early in the show. Someone should be
right,
looking for him. This now says we did what we had to do. Now we don't have to resolve anything about the real world, and we can do our crazy shit for
right.
the rest of the story. And that's where things really go out of control. I don't remember how it all comes down
All right.
because she's getting more and more irritated. And
Yeah, and she just wants to let loose, and she does. So there's some screaming. The mother's looking for Izzy.
yeah,
She she goes to the room that that has the key, and she puts her hand on it, and the key doesn't pop out. She does it a couple times, and then she just opens the door because it's unlocked, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And
the book's
trunk.
not there, right?
There's a trunk, and she opens the trunk, and inside it, the trunk is like the inside of an intestine, but like gigantic. And
Yeah,
she's got this lamp, so she hears the screaming, so she goes in, and she crawls through this thing for a long time. This is a long, bloody internal organ tunnel of some kind that
yeah,
Izzy has created. So she comes out the other side, and there's Amber, and she's seemingly paralyzed. And the mom, they have a confrontation about it, and oh, what? Well, she's like, please don't kill me, save me, so, And the mom is is like, what's going on, Izzy? What is this place? And Izzy's like, oh, this is my happy place.
yeah, yeah,
and and then it gets revealed that they have they self-replicate, right? They
hmm
self-reproduce, and so the child eventually has to devour the mother. Um, so the mother says that she's not ready, and she's like sad, and the Izzy just like laughs, and she's just like, "Mom, I'm not gonna eat you yet.
yeah,
um, I'm gonna go into town. Do you need anything?" And the mom goes, "Bass strings."
yeah.
And that's the end of the movie. So we know that right. We know that she definitely kills Amber. We get some weird, trippy flashes too during this whole sequence where she eats the guy who owned the pool, and he's like half eaten, and she's like standing there. Um, lots of like quick cuts and flashes and all sorts of crazy, trippy, colors and effects through all of this stuff. And this is
Yeah.
all like I said, like in the last 15 minutes of the movie, and there is no real sequence to it. It's just like super. Um,
It's very kind of like A24 art
yeah,
house type
yeah,
experience by the end without any narrative line to draw from A to B. It's just a bunch of visuals and feelings and experiences, sensory overload of different imagery to to depict chaos and kind of like growth or emergence into this, to accepting her powers and feeling that she has the confidence now to be stronger and better than her mother, because her mother was kind of trying to fight back with some of her own powers, but Izzy kept overpowering her with what she was doing. I
Yeah.
think they have like the ability to shape shift in some kind of way and contort their faces in a different way, and her mother does something weird, but then does one that looks much more violent and kind of scary as shit.
Oh yeah. Right, that's the Hellbender coming out
Right.
to
Yeah.
devour. Yeah, yeah. Then and those effects once again were really good. Like they must have put like all the budget into effects.
Hmm.
'Cause you know, for a B movie, it looked really good. Um, all right. So in summation, yeah, okay, our beat by beat on this movie was pretty poor, but it was tough.
This is a hard one to
It
do
was,
because
yeah,
it's a very limited scope. I mean, it's not the same thing as, it has a couple sets, but what's occurring for the most part, it's the relationship drama between the mother and daughter, and it's hard to really relive the progression of,
yeah,
or the evolution of how their roles as mother or daughter and what that means for their futures. And so it's just difficult to really parse into it. It's well done. Like, it shows the mother's continuous fighting to correct the wrongs that she's obviously already done, because the sheltered life that she was providing Izzy
yeah.
was not the right way to lead her to on the right path.
Right, right. Yeah, at the end during that confrontation, she, you know, the mother says, "Izzy, you're good. You're a good person." And Izzy's just like, "Mom, you don't know me."
Yeah.
Um,
And like, so yeah, for us to go through beat by beat, like, there's a lot of emotional weight or importance that's placed with the dialogue, and it's just difficult to really kind of, you have to experience it. It's
yeah,
not like a thing happens. It's things that are spoken, and you can't recall exactly what words are spoken, but you understand through the dialogues that they have, like how the relationship is faltering and what things are coming up as issues now that have to be addressed, and how it's going to drive a wedge with this and that. So it was beautiful in a lot of ways because of that. I think that a different period of my life, or um, just different circumstances where I would appreciate it more or it would impact me more, it didn't impact me in that kind of way. I wasn't as immersed. It was more as a viewer
yeah,
outside looking in on this one for me. I didn't get completely sucked into it.
yeah, yeah. For immersion, I think this movie scores pretty low, but you know, for indie, low
Yeah,
budget, and then like, you know, like you said, it kind of turns art house for like the second half or like the third act.
yeah.
Um, you know, overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to give Hellbender a 6,
All right.
which maybe it deserves a 5, but honestly, I really like the music, so it's getting a 6.
Yeah, for me, it's falling into a five. I respect the hell out of it, and the fact that it was a family that kind of made it all together
Oh
is
yeah,
sweet as shit. That they were able to pull that off. And the story is unique. It's interesting. It's creative. It all makes sense. It all works. It's
yeah.
just, it just didn't hit me the way that other films hit me. So I'm
No,
gonna just keep it in the middle of the road with a five.
yeah, no, definitely entertaining, definitely worth the watch. I'll watch the hell out of Hellbender too. You know, Zelda's Revenge or whatever, Zelda's Wrath. Or wait, that's her real name. Sorry, Izzy's Wrath. That's what, and I'll watch that. Yeah, but it's definitely a solid 6 from me.
Yeah, cool.
I think
And it is streaming on Shutter currently.
I'm checking to see if we have a viewer here who says a strong 6. So I'm asking him if he actually watched it or if he's just parroting me.
Both. I can see both being true. Both things
Yes.
can be true, Nate.
All right.
At least for me. I know not so much for you. Uh,
All right. We're moving on to
to
Master.
Master. I killed
Uh,
you, Master.
Two African American women begin to share disturbing experiences at a predominantly white college in New England. Written and directed by Mariama Diallo, who I actually did a little research on.
Yeah.
And
Did Mariama Diallo make any giallos? Probably natto. I'm gonna ask the
uh,
real questions. Sorry, I
yeah,
really kind of. It's fine.
it's fine. It's fine. We'll fix it in post.
Fuck it, we'll do it
We'll
live.
do it live. Um, okay, no, he didn't watch it. He says that I was being greedy with the score. Yeah, I think I was a little bit. It probably did deserve a five, like like Rodney said. But once again, I liked the music, so I'm giving it a six. Okay, Master. This movie was excellent. Um, the rating is all over the place on this movie, and once again,
Yeah, 4.8 on
four
IMDb. Oh
four
shit.
point eight on IMDb. And Hellbender had
Tomatoes
a
is
had a Hellbender had a 5.9, almost a six, which is that sweet spot for horror on IMDb. Master getting a 4.8 is crazy to me, crazy to me. So
yeah, I know because I think everything that we've watched that we've talked about has been above a five. I think
oh
on
yeah,
IMDb.
oh absolutely.
Everything this season.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb without reading any of these reviews and call everyone who didn't like this movie racist. Before we even start talking about it. And we are about to talk about race a lot.
Yeah, trigger warning.
Trigger warning. This movie is that's what it's all about. You can tell from the one sentence intro I just gave the movie, which was the
Yeah,
description on
it
IMDb.
said African American. So if that
Yes.
upsets you, then don't watch it. Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're so here's the other thing too. Um, Jordan Peele already made Nope, or not Nope, Get Out. Sorry. So you know how some people felt once the Coen brothers made No Country for Old Men? They're like, you don't need to make another Western. They made the last Western that needs to be made. It was perfect. I
Right.
think that I'm not saying that Jordan Peele making Get Out means you don't need to make another horror movie about race. Uh, but he kind of really fucking nailed it with it. And so
Yeah.
now any movie that kind of deals with those topics is going to invariably be looked at with
It's
part of that lens.
it's definitely gonna get compared to it, and
Yeah,
I'll tell you there was two moments in this movie where I felt like I was watching Get Out.
sure.
Just from style, it just felt
Yeah,
like oh, this is a scene right from Get Out. Like it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. They didn't
I know,
copy
and
Get
it's
Out.
unfair to say it.
It is.
It's
But it
hard to. It's such a defining genre film
oh
that he
yeah.
made, and
I
so it's
mean
hard not to when you're dealing with race. It's just like when you're talking slashers, you're going to talk about the classic slashers.
right.
If you're dealing with race and horror and how those genres and how those cultural issues come to a head in a film, you can't help but acknowledge the past in with that movie. It wasn't even that long ago. When did Get Out come out? Like 5 years ago, maybe, if that.
It was a while. It was a bit, but I mean, it was the best movie of the year and the best horror movie of the year. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
I don't know what was better than it that year. Like Jordan Peele
man.
he gets the credit he deserves from that movie. It was that good. Okay, Master.
Sorry, no. There's a IMDb has a Regina Hall. How well do you know her IMDb credits? And we were just talking about that before we started.
Well,
It's funny.
Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, and 4. And
Enough said.
she was awesome in all of them.
This
Uh,
includes drama, horror, mystery, and thriller. So for us
yes.
to kind of note that this isn't strictly horror, I think
All right. I'm
obviously everyone agrees.
I'm also going to bring you over to the web the web here for a moment just to show you the IMDb panel. I'm going to
Yeah.
flip over to the user ratings and show you why this has such a low score. 21.4% give it a 1 star. There is no way any of these people have seen this movie. This movie could not score beneath a 5, in my opinion, from
Hmm.
anybody, even people who didn't like it. 4 maybe. Um, there it is, the 21%, the 532 racist motherfuckers who just one-starred this movie without ever even seeing it.
Sure.
Okay, so going back to the two screener. Here we are. Uh, I just got to call him out because this
Yeah.
movie was so good, and honestly, all of the I saw all of this crap, all these ratings about it before watching the movie, so
Oh, okay.
I came into it with a maybe
It's
this maybe
difficult to do before you watch it because
yeah,
I don't like doing that.
right.
I, I it depends. It makes me feel good sometimes, and then it makes me feel uncomfortable. It's like if it, I don't know. It just depends on the kind of movie it is and the rating that it gets. Sometimes it's like where I go in wanting to prove them wrong, or I go in thinking, okay, great, this is gonna be fun, and then I could be let down.
Yeah,
It's
I
it's a
definitely
hard thing to do to temper your expectations once you do that.
so I went in with a um the public has spoken and this movie isn't that good. Like this movie's like below average. And that's all I thought about it. I didn't have any more thoughts than that. And I was surprised, I was pleasantly surprised through the whole film. So before the beat by beat, I think it's important to set up at least the two characters and how this film was shot. So we have Regina Hall playing Gal Bishop, who's the first African American woman to be the house master at this rich white college. Ancaster. Uh, and then we have Jasmine Moore, played by Zoe Renee, who is a freshman at this college.
Yes.
One of 8 non-white students, or
Yeah.
she's the ninth, one or the other. It doesn't really
Something like
matter.
that. Yeah. There's a
Um,
handful.
yeah. Uh, and the movie is essentially two stories interwoven.
Hmm.
So we're getting Regina Hall as Gail. We're getting Gail's perspective, and we're getting Jasmine's perspective. And they're going through two different storylines. It's not like one's perspective of the events, the other's perspective of the events. The events do crisscross, but we're getting two
Yeah,
storylines.
it'll make you jump. It's kind of funny because they both are dealing. I don't know if you got that reference. They're both going to deal with uh, like approach horror and different things. That's the one thing about this movie that's pretty awesome. Gail's story and what is horrific about the events that Gail's going through, or how Gail perceives it, is this, and what Jasmine perceives and what she's going through is this, and you're never really quite sure what's actually happening. I think you're led to believe that it must be this, but they're still invested in the other thing. And so you're
Right.
constantly kind of like wrestling with what do you believe and what is actually going on, and are people perceiving things, are they, can you trust the narrative perspective of the protagonist that you're with at the moment, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say the brilliance of the film in the
Yeah.
writing of it is that you never really know who the villain is or what the villain is,
Yeah.
except for it being like not even blatant, but the racism is subtle in some points, a little not so in others, but for the most part,
Right.
it's that racism that's built in to a society that it's been a part of for hundreds and hundreds of years, where they don't even know that they're doing it. They don't even
Sure.
realize. Like some of them don't. Some of them do, but some of them they just don't get it. And the story being told from these two different perspectives is so interesting at how they experience these things and how they
Hmm.
react to these things as they go through. Things that you and me, walking down a dark alley and hearing a noise behind us, we don't think twice about the noise behind us. We continue to walk down the dark alley. But these characters, in the setting that they're in, have things to fear,
Sure.
from the noise behind them. Even though they're on a presumably safe campus with security around, and the just the perspective of the film was so good, and it was delivered so excellently. Um, anyway, I think we
Yeah,
could just.
there's a lot to unpack about it, and
Yeah.
there's so much going on. I mean, I feel like we're obviously we have to acknowledge that the two of us in our backgrounds don't have the same perspectives that others are going to have with this, or maybe is going to impact other people differently. And we're going to do our best to try to relate to the characters. Obviously, we don't have the same kind of lived-in experience that these characters are going to have, but we can only put ourselves in position. So we'll do our best to navigate this topic as sensitive and kind of as intelligently as possible, which I think we're both well capable of doing. But it's a discomforting thing to get into, and this movie wants to play with that discomfort and do really unique things and
Oh.
make you feel and experience something.
The
So
yeah,
I'm
the
looking forward to
opposite
talking about it.
the opposite of Hellbender, I was completely immersed.
Yeah,
And it wasn't Gel's character, it was Jasmine's character. I was Jasmine through this whole
she was
movie.
awesome. Yeah.
I was sucked right in. Everything she felt, I was felt sitting on my couch. Uh I
Hmm.
Yeah, it was horrible. Like to
Yeah.
experience. So anyway, here we go.
So yeah, you set it up with the two of them. One being the housemaster, the first African American housemaster on the campus, and Jasmine being the freshman. And it is pretty much starts with the two of them experiencing uh, a roadblock the very first time that they're or a stumble or a misstep or an unfortunate experience the very first day and very first moment that they're now in these new roles. Gail gets to her building, the house that she'll be living in on campus. Her key does not work at first, and so she's got her boxes, she's ready to get in and start this new journey. She can't get in, she's locked out. It's a literal barrier, and it's also just signifying there's still something stopping from you being allowed into this establishment, you know.
Right.
And then Jasmine is walking with her book bag on this it's like the freshman welcoming ceremony, and a bunch of students are dressed in all their blue and yellow colors for Ancaster. What was the Ancaster
Witches.
Ancaster witches? Yeah. And girl approaches her with the clipboard. Oh, who are you? And she introduces herself, and she's like, "Okay, oh, you're in this room." And she's like, "Hey guys, come here." And they all like kind of like huddle up, and they're like, "She's in this room," and and then they don't say a fucking thing about it, and they just make her feel weird, and they're like looking at her like, "Okay," and they just walk away. And so it's
Yeah.
like she's confronted with like feeling ostracized or feeling like the odd person out. She doesn't look like everyone else. And so for me, it was like both of them are almost two fish out of water type situations where they're going to be in a position where there's already bad feelings. It's off to the wrong
Right. Well,
on
what
the
I
wrong
lo-
foot.
what I liked about the Gale scene, and exactly to the point you're describing, is she calls maintenance,
Mm-hmm.
and maintenance doesn't believe her,
Right.
right? Like, and maybe it's just a man woman thing in this case, because I get accused of doing this to uh, Anastasia all the time, where where she calls the maintenance. She says, "I just tried my key, and my door won't open." And then you don't hear what he says, but you hear her say, "Well, yes, of course I tried it." Like he was like, "Well, did you try the key?
Yeah.
Like, did you jiggle
Did
the
you?
handle?"
Right.
Like,
And that's
um,
the thing. A lot of the things that the characters experience, you can see it under a lens of this is you're saying it or you're reacting this way because of race, or you're saying this because of sex, or you're saying it because of uh, class or whatever. Those things are always there, and you're never sure what to trust with how people are interacting because you can't because they can disguise their prejudice under the veil of something innocuous and innocent, and that's like the worst way to be. Is like you hide it behind this other persona or this other thing, this veil
Sure.
of I'm just the librarian checking books. I'm just supposed to do this.
Right.
I actually don't trust you because of how you look. And that's like soaked into everything that happens in this. So the way that they just start the movie, you're uncomfortable, and like they're going to be going through this
Oh yeah.
the whole film. You know you're gonna what you're lined up for, and so I thought it was a great start with that.
All right. So Jasmine makes it to her room to find her. Well, her roommate uh, comes in after. Introduces herself. The names are. Is it
Wasn't her roommate?
Amelia? Amelia, I believe, is the roommate.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Yep.
then she ends up with a few more friends. Cressida, Katie, Libby. None of these names even matter.
Nah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, Amelia is the main roommate, and yeah, Cressida. Okay. Uh, I mean, I guess it makes sense with the school that they're at. It's a big school, which we'll get to whenever we get to Gail's speech. But yeah, so Amelia's already got her shit in there, and she comes to the door. She startles Jasmine as she's looking at the light on the wall and everything. But they had normal interaction, like, oh hi, who are you? It's like freshmen
Yeah.
meeting each other first time, strangers, and like it's a normal interaction. You don't have any reason to believe that Amelia is going to be a bad character for Jasmine to interact with.
Right, and I did enjoy the beginning of Jasmine's interactions with her friends. They do kind of are all friends acting age appropriate for college girls, and everything seems
Mm-hmm.
kind of normal uh, for a brief period in the beginning, and it was all written very well. And oh, one thing we forgot to mention was there are captions, black screen captions to each chapter, so
Oh
to speak,
right, yeah, title
of the
card
movie.
type thing,
Title
right?
cards, yes. Did you write those down? No,
Fuck
probably
no, I was
not. Okay.
watching it. I know.
All right. So
They were long. They had
the
like used a lot of words and there was
well,
quite a few of them.
I remember the first one was could someone clean that up?
Please,
Please. Yeah, could someone clean that up,
yeah,
please? And
yeah.
then yeah, okay. So what happens next, Rod?
We get to now. It's at all the kids are gathered at one of the
One.
one of the buildings, and Gail is giving a speech welcoming to the class of 2023 and what Ancaster College is all about, and it has a legacy, and all these great things have come from here. It was some famous person's safety school,
Right.
or they didn't get in, so they
They
went to
didn't
their
get in.
safety school, Harvard,
Harvard,
and
yeah.
so they're just saying like this is a good fucking school. This is top of the line,
Yeah.
and she reiterated whatever you uh, do from here on forward, you will never go home again. This
Right.
is your
This is
home.
your
She's
home.
just like it's the thing. This is your home. The only but they mention Margaret Millet, who was the witch that was hung and executed on campus grounds years and
Right.
years and years ago for practicing witchcraft.
Yep.
Because she said like that was a real story. I can't say that this Harvard story was real, but I do know that this did happen. And
Right.
anyways, the only thing that's going to haunt you here is that last slice of pizza that you eat.
Yeah,
And
which is
ha ha ha,
disgusting.
it's a freshman. You're just chucking it up with them. But she's like, I am here. I am the house master, and I am more than just a professor. I can't remember what she uses, what word she uses, a friend or a confidant, someone that you can go to. It
Right.
seems almost like she's like the RA of,
Yeah.
or the
Right.
area coordinator for this dorm or a couple of dorms for the freshman class.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she just gives her speech, and that is that, I'm pretty sure, for that part. And
Right.
now
So
we
then
get
I
to
think
the
Yep. Jasmine will be with her new friends, or they're all
Oh,
kind of
she
meeting
talks
each
about
other.
the primal scream. This is the last thing. She's like,
Oh,
we
right,
start and end each semester with the primal scream, and that's what you'll
right,
be doing later tonight. It's a tradition here at Ancaster, and
right.
so then we get that evening where uh, the kids are all out their windows.
Primal screaming,
Ah!
right. And then it comes into the room with Jasmine and all the new people she's meeting. She asks how they met. They tell some stories because they all went to school together and now they're in
All doing
college together.
shots.
They're doing
Never have I
shots. Yep.
ever.
Yep. Right.
Playing Never
Playing.
Have I Ever. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it comes to never have I ever peed my pants. And Jasmine tells a story because she sleepwalks.
Yeah.
Um, which is obviously a device, and we're introducing it now. So here it is.
Hmm.
And she woke up at a friend's sleepover peeing into an open dryer.
Yeah.
And she says that she didn't just pee her pants, she peed everybody's pants.
Yeah. And it's like it's a very natural scene. Obviously, some girls are kind of like laughing about it and thinking like that's hilarious. You're fucking cool for telling me that story. And you see some prudish girls are like, that's fucking gross, and I don't like you.
Right.
And this is where the one girl spills something at the start of the scene. She spills the drink or whatever,
Yeah.
and she says, "Can someone clean it up, please?" And because she's not going to clean it up,
Yeah.
and so then another girl in the room throws the rag to Jasmine, the only person of color in the room,
In the room.
and tell her to clean it up. And she's like, "Whatever, like I'll clean it up."
But she doesn't.
I think she grabs it, but yeah, she's
She
just like,
grabs the
"What?"
rag and she like puts it under under her
Yeah,
leg, like she's sits on it. She doesn't clean it up,
right. No.
which I thought was very nice. um, okay,
So then
so
the other thing is now the other part because we're gonna keep going back and forth is that we get Gail is sitting for her portrait as
oof.
housemaster. There's gonna be a guy that makes a hand physically made portrait of her, and he's like just telling a story. She's looking nice, and but it's like an awkward type interaction, and
Yeah,
she
you get
hears
the
a
sense
ringing.
that you get the sense that he doesn't want to do this, and
No,
every once in a while, yeah, you hear the bells. So the bells are going to be a reoccurring thing for Gail's story.
right. She hears the ringing and she's like, "Well, what was that?" Or I heard that, and he's like, "We can stop. This is a point where we can stop anyways and take it up later." And so
Yeah,
they split. But then she starts to go looking around and she finds that there's in the building she lives there's a servants' quarters, and the
right.
bells are Downton Abbey call bells where
Yeah,
this bell has been rung in the master bedroom, this bell was rung at the dining room,
right,
so that the servants that are taking care of the caregivers, and one's led to believe that these were obviously more than likely these were slaves from back in the fucking day that were serving here, and maybe if not slaves at some point since then were at least servants' quarters that were more than likely African Americans serving white
right. Because
people in the house.
right from this scene, we're going to get a couple random campus shots through like a day of school, and you're going to find an African American. I want to say like a almost like a housemaid in the background, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna go to the kitchen where there's a black dude cooking, and then you go to the big black lady server,
Right.
who's like all peaches and gravy to the white kids. No, no, really, she's like laughing it up.
Yeah, because
Ha-
she said peaches and gravy. What
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
fuck?
She's like laughing it up with him. She's, you
Yeah,
know,
she's
serving him the
super
food,
over the top. Like, how
and
you doing,
yeah,
sweetie? How you
what,
doing,
yeah,
honey?
and then
What you learn? Look at you, looking cute and
yeah,
everything.
Jasmine gets
And
there to get her
and
friend.
they're all white students that she's
Yeah,
talking like that to.
right. And then Jasmine gets up there and she just gives her the fucking death eyes and doesn't even serve her the food.
Doesn't
Just
say a
like
fucking thing. Just
just
gives her the
looks,
dirtiest
stares
look.
at her. Yeah,
So, and I think that it obviously communicates. It's very clear, but we're only left to assume how to believe. Like, she just definitely doesn't trust her for whatever reason. Like, who knows why? Maybe it's that she
yeah.
doesn't like
This is
her being a part of
right.
the student body because
Yeah,
she sees her for what she is, and
this is yeah.
she thinks she does.
This is definitely an example of racism that I cannot attempt to understand.
Right.
Like the black and white stuff, I can get it from both perspectives. Not this one. Like
The
this one,
the
I'm not
the
even
the
gonna.
seeming black on black racism that
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
occurring here.
like this kind of interaction, I couldn't even pretend to understand, and I'm sorry for
Yeah,
any
that's all
women.
that I would be.
Yeah,
That's all that I could assume is that
yeah,
it's maybe even just a class thing where
right,
uh, she feels connected to her maybe if and at least through race is the what she can relate to, and she doesn't trust that she should be in this environment with these students for whatever reason.
right.
It
You
could
feel,
just be
yeah, I
a
mean, you
class
feel,
thing
yeah, you feel bad for
because
Jasmine. You feel bad for Jasmine too in this moment because she almost approaches the lunch lady with hope, right?
yeah,
Because she's so nice to all the other students, and she's
yeah,
like, why wouldn't she be nice to me? And she's a person of color, so maybe we can actually have a conversation. And no, no, she gets shut down. So it's like very sad, um, this moment. And
right.
yeah, I couldn't imagine having to experience something like this.
So then let's see, it goes pretty quickly. Then the next thing is with she's in class. It could be right after this, but she's in class now, and this is where we meet the other lead adult that we're gonna be following, Liv.
Live,
Uh,
yes, live.
she's teaching what I assume is a literature course, and they're discussing the Scarlet Letter and Nathaniel Hawthorne and what did this mean and what did that mean, and she's asking the class to understand why is the character named Pearl and what did Hawthorne mean by this, and they're just doing like critical analysis of an older text, and uh, Jasmine thinks she understands. She wants to be the go-getter. She's raising her hand, she's very confident from where she comes from, and rightfully so. We find out later in the movie,
Yep,
and Liv shuts her down pretty quickly, or goes to another student that has a different answer that is more ev- evocative of racial subtext in
yeah,
Hawthorne's novel. And she's like, "Yes, you're right. That is good." Very, and she praises that student. And Jasmine's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? No, it was just this. Like, it's
the
not always about that. It doesn't have to be there."
yeah,
So it causes the conflict right away. And it's like I think Liv even uses the term critical race theory in the context of the Scarlet Letter, and that it's like this is the whole semester she's going to be trying to thread this needle of how do you uh, take that kind of a critical analysis to these older texts. How can you look at it through a lens of critical writing and to see what was meant and what wasn't meant but was overt by him just writing it in the story. But it's frustrating for Jasmine because she was the top of her class, and so now she's in an environment where
yeah,
she's not seen. Just I'm a good student, and she says I'm a bad student. And this is going to be the conflict through the rest of the semester.
right. I have no idea what happens next.
I stopped taking notes a little bit after the next beat or two, and we don't have to go back to back. But now, so that it was, but that's kind of how the story goes. They keep going back and forth.
Yeah, they do keep going back
Uh,
and forth. And
Gail's
she,
having a dinner party, and
yeah,
so she's having guests over, and they're all congratulating her. You meet a couple more characters. Liv is there. We find out Gail and really good friends,
are
but
really
now
good
Gail's in a
friends.
position of authority
Yeah,
and a higher level of academia status, where Liv is sort of like an adjunct trying to get tenure,
yep,
and that's going to be she's going to be up for tenure, and they're considering whether to keep her. Gail finds the cookie jar under her fucking thing, so that's like another thing where she sees a goddamn like big cookie jar of a woman wearing a like a handkerchief on her head and like completely black opaque paint on the face, and it's a cookie jar from fucking way back when, and it's just gross shit.
yeah,
She sees it, she's like, "What the fuck?" Like,
yeah.
so I will
I
say here at this point, and it's well past that point, but and that's the one thing I'll neg this movie for is that they kind it's a little ham fisted or a little too much too on the nose sometimes.
mm,
It's like moment after moment after moment after moment that are tinged with the racism. I can see that being a turnoff for some people because it's like I get it. I don't need to see it in every fucking scene or every fucking
Right.
instance. And maybe that's just unfair for me because that's just really how things can be for certain people.
Sure.
And so maybe it's fair to feel that and be seeing it all the fucking time. But it seemed like, at least if I'm trying to understand it, I didn't need to see it all the time. And so I can see it both ways. But I'll be, yeah, it's in every, almost every scene, there's
Yeah.
racial
Yeah. And
conflict.
I really for me it was when it was subtle is when I enjoyed it more. I don't think enjoy is the right word, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
I understand. Could appreciate the artful manner in which
Yes.
they're discussing
Yeah.
racial tension. Yeah.
I actually agree completely too with the cookie jar being a little too much, but then you go to the dinner party and you have the dialogue there, and it was like
Yeah.
every
I
line was like just laced with it, and it was like
Well, I mean, I don't know. She fucking said, the guy's like, "Oh, who knows? Maybe next step you'll be president." And obviously he means president of the university. But then the other fucking broad's like, "Oh,
what
what am I gonna call her,
color
Barack?" And I'm like,
Barack.
"Oh my god, Jesus Christ!" Like, okay, I got it, guys. Like I was like, but I could also see some dumb fucking person saying a stupid comment. I've been in the room with people saying stupid fucking comments like that. There's a black person, and the black person isn't the majority of the persons in the room, and someone makes a dumb comment and uses like, and it happens with the girls. Because I think the next scene is the girl Jasmine goes back to the where Amelia's having a party, and all the
Oh
kids are just
right,
the other kids are up on her shit. Like
yeah.
I was upset with Jasmine here. If I came back to my room and my uh, suite mate had their friends on my bedspread
On the
and
bed,
shit, I'd be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
the fuck. Obviously, she doesn't want to ruffle feathers. She's being a sport. She's biting her tongue because she knows probably from historically you're not going to get anywhere whenever you act a certain way. Especially here, you have a lens on you. She bites her tongue and she goes along with it. But then they want to introduce her or get to know her. She doesn't say her name right away, and so they all start saying Beyonce, Lizzo, and it's
yeah,
just like that
yeah,
fucked up. And it's like, but they name like fucking like 10 other people, famous black actors, actresses,
yeah,
musicians, whatever. It's so offensive, and they don't give a shit, and they're
yeah,
just like laughing it up, having a good time, getting high.
yeah. Because I mean, these are definitely like the rich white kids of like she didn't just get like stuck with any just any roommate. She got stuck with a roommate who is friends with the rich white popular freshman.
Yeah,
Like
it was funny. They
it's
had a
definitely like
term.
the villains from a 80s comedy, right? Like
Yeah, and they called it something fun. Like they called themselves Dwights, uh, dumb white something getting high together.
oh,
I
okay.
can't. I don't know if you caught it. It was like kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
self-deprecating,
yeah.
but like they thought it was a cool thing too that they called themselves that, and it just like signified that like it's just like the idea is like it's a class thing, but it's also like a thing where the consequences don't matter. They're freshmen in their fucking dorm, their first year, and they don't give a shit about smoking pot, about getting drunk.
Yeah.
And as far as when I went to college, like that shit, like we did it all the time, but you had to be super fucking careful getting that shit in, and whenever you were partying, like if you had too much noise, you were gonna get shut down and get in trouble.
Right.
Yeah, in trouble.
In trouble.
Right.
Okay.
So I
So
stopped taking notes after this.
okay. All right. So we'll power through. I can
The beat
remember
for beat doesn't matter a ton,
I can
but
remember the scenes word for word once you remind me of the scenes, but you gotta remind
you know.
you gotta you
So
gotta feed me.
well,
All
it's
right.
difficult here because things are gonna the events that are gonna happen. We can kind of just parse through, and we'll try to pick up the
Right.
uniqueness.
So let's go right back to Gail for a moment. Since it's night, dinner party's wrapped up, she starts getting these. So what's cool about this movie is we were talking about it before we started even Hellbender. It definitely paints this picture of paranormal, and so you never really know. um, where the villain is, who the villain is, where it's coming from, and
Yeah.
they definitely like blame the witch, right? At 3:33 is when it happened. At
Oh, sure. Yeah.
3:33, they're gonna come and take another freshman, and this is where she learns the story actually at this party right now for, with the,
Yes, it
from
is.
these guys. Um, they take a
Yeah,
freshman
Margaret
every
Miller.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girl in, the girl in your room hanged herself, right? Was the
Yes.
story, um, which is why your room is haunted. Um, and so Gail is also just experiencing these kind of disturbances with this ringing bell, with phone calls. This is where she gets the phone call who says, "This is I can't remember the name. I need to talk to you about my daughter."
Hmm.
She's like, call the bursar's office. Like this isn't my
Yeah.
job. This is a home, ma'am, and like hangs
Yeah.
up on her.
Right.
And it was like kind of a mysterious call. Um, and maybe the first instances of maggots happens here.
I can't remember
It,
when it actually occurs. Like, yeah, on the one phone,
it's
because well, she's talking to. She has to read because the other thing is they're at the university, and so like, yeah, the whole academia with Gail is what's gonna be going on and how to navigate that as who she is. She's reading her speech or something to her friend, and that's when she sees the first instance of maggots. She opens up a drawer for like washcloth or something, and
yeah,
so the exterminators come and they clean them out.
they vacuum them up
The portrait maggots I think happens later,
a little bit
but
later. Yeah,
it doesn't. I don't know how much it matters here. But essentially, what you were getting at, which I want to focus on here, is to develop, and this is what's happening, and this is where the interpretation and the experience of the movie starts to become very, very interesting. Is we just talked a ton at the front end here as far as like overt racism, and that being the driving force of what's the characters are experiencing. You're seeing
right.
it scene after scene after scene, and the witch stuff has always been in the background with. And so now that we've heard the story from the kids, the 333, the hanging, and that we
Yeah,
have the paranormal element come out, and from here on out, Jasmine was impacted by that story. She is thinking and feeling and seeing all of the things that she's experiencing. She cannot help but experience it through the lens of the paranormal.
right.
Uh, for the most part,
She
she
has
sees things like that.
yeah, she has nightmares. Every night now we get a little nightmare, um, usually ending in, I want to say, like some kind of death. I can't. I'm trying to picture one of the nightmares.
Well, like okay, well, the very first one I think happens shortly after, or like that night after she hears the scary. It's three
Right.
33, and you pan to her bed, and you see under the bed, you see a hand come up
The
and
hand.
rake,
Right.
rake at her forearm.
Right.
And I don't think she's having any other dream. Or when she wakes up, she
She.
seemingly wakes up and she's looking. Her roommate's gone, and so
Yeah.
like I'm thinking in my head, okay, the roommate's fucking with her. The roommate got up at this time just to
Under
fuck
the
with
bed.
her.
Yeah.
She freaks out. She gets under the bed. She's looking under the bed, and then all of a sudden it's morning,
It's
and
more.
the
Yeah. It
roommate's saying
flashes.
something, and she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Are you really doing this right now?" And she storms out of the room, pissed off, as if
Yeah.
her Amelia was trying to have a conversation with her,
Right.
and Jasmine had no fucking clue.
And then you see her arm, and there are some scratches on it.
Yeah. So now, so the paranormal stuff is like, so you're already seeing it. She's experiencing it, and now you can't help but you can't just associate there's paranormal, and yet there is this just overt racism of what's happening on campus, and it's constantly getting pulled back and forth with the way that the characters are interacting, the things that are going on. You're never really sure what is happening because of it. You're always
Yeah.
questioning the interactions because of that, and I think that they play on that beautifully throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. And
so
then so then you've got the the kind of in your face witch stuff with Jasmine, and then you have this almost like haunted house ghost story going on with Regina, um, which doesn't really have any foundation other than the fact that she's just getting weirded out over and over again, and like her own personal stress levels are rising as she's not sleeping well. There's some stuff going on with Liv that we're about to get into. Um, she's trying to,
She keeps hearing the bell. Like that's the only
yeah,
thing. The one constant element is like the bell keeps ringing in her house, and it really doesn't make any fucking sense for
yeah.
it to be ringing.
She goes on runs with Liv, but then she goes on runs by herself, and one run scared her pretty bad. But we can come back to that too.
Right.
Um, okay, because we have to move on to there's a meeting of basically everyone who was at the dinner party except for Liv to
Mhm.
discuss Liv's tenure.
Yeah.
Before this, though, okay, I guess we have to set this up. Uh, Jasmine received an F on her paper
Right.
about the Scarlet Letter, and she brought it to Liv, and Liv was just like, "It's just not right."
Right.
Not that it's not good. She said your writing is great, and everybody says her writing is great. Everyone who she makes read it, but Liv just says it's just wrong. Um,
But I like this part too because like obviously I spent a lot of time. My background, you know my background, but like I college educated and uh, the academia angle of this I was really intrigued and interested in. Uh, and this conflict was very frustrating and like livable for me because but it also as an adult now, Liv, the professor, is forcing the students to approach this and see this text and interact with this text in this angle that she's pigeonholing it, like making you have to look at it this way and discuss it this way, and Jasmine just doesn't buy into it. She's like, no, it's not there. That's not a real thing. And so, like, I respect that. Like, it's almost like the argument, like, you don't have to inject race or this perspective into everything created then because it didn't have that in mind. And I like that idea that Jasmine believed that in a lot of ways. Uh, because I think that's part of the problem nowadays. Like people make something about nothing, and that's not necessarily why the art was created. Whenever you consider text, I'm not saying it's not always a part of it, but I like that idea of it. So yeah, so Liv says it's not correct, and Jasmine now wants to dispute that. So she goes to Gail. I think they have an argument about the roommate, or there's something. She's there for whatever other reason. I
right,
guess it was just
right,
about the paper. She wanted Gail to read the paper, and then it's like, okay, this, and it's the dispute. She's filing a dispute.
yeah.
Gail's very conflicted because Gail wants to accept her and advise her, but she wants to protect Liv too because Liv's her friend,
And this could ruin
her
her tenure track.
and Liv is seemingly is a person of color, another black faculty member that obviously Gail wants to associate with and have like part of the team, help build another female black leader in the university and help feel more comfortable and at home herself. There's all those reasons there. And so she's very conflicted to support a student or her colleague, And so, yeah, so the scene you're jumping to
Yep.
is that they're talking about the tenure.
They're talking about the tenure, and they don't want to give it to her um, for the most part.
Yeah,
Um,
lack of publishing
yeah, lack of publishing. Gal,
is what they say, but
yeah, yeah. Gal chimes in with a strong argument for, and then they make a few more arguments against, and then they kind of like prod Gal. Hey, Gal, you sure? And Gal's like, oh, fine.
there are some potential
One
issues.
one of her
Yeah.
students brought forth the complaint. So she does her job, right? She
Right.
reveals the
She
information. She doesn't
tries to
hide
take
it.
herself
Yeah.
out of it.
Tries to be objective.
Hmm.
Um, so giving that information, one of them says, "Well, we need to wait and see. We need to table this conversation until after the
Yeah.
investigation." Who was a Asian man who is the only other non-white member of the faculty that I saw in the film,
Hmm.
and never. Uh, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but never is included as a person of color or like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um,
Right.
so maybe they did it on purpose, maybe they didn't. Maybe it's because he's a man. I don't know.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Because I mean, not only are the three main characters, the three protagonists, African American, but they are also all women. So
Yeah.
it's two unique angles um, that they're viewing all of these things or experiencing all of these things from.
Mhm. So, yeah, it's after this that it's going to start to get muddled, but more or less, I think what's progressing now is, the seasons. I guess things don't really start to go. The next big pinnacle event is, I think,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think already at this point, Jasmine is starting to dabble and do a little bit of research about the university. Right?
Yep.
Her interest is peaked.
Yeah.
She's going and looking at microfiche.
She grabbed someone's file. She found some interesting stuff. She read it in the library or in the files room or something.
Yeah,
I
so she's
forgot
she's
that
going down the rabbit hole for
it
paranormal.
was the girl who hung herself in her room's
Yeah,
file.
yeah, yeah. She wanted to understand more about
Yeah.
that because she couldn't that the dream she had. So she's didn't doing that.
So Liv's
And,
leaving town, but Gail is staying for Thanksgiving. She's staying for Thanksgiving. Pretty much all her friends are leaving. Um,
yeah.
she's like alone somewhere, maybe I think in the library. Yeah, they're like the library's closing, last call, and like the lights go out, and then all of a sudden the lights go red, and there's an alarm, and she runs out of the building to a fire, and the camera zooms out to reveal a burning cross.
Mhm.
Um, so now we've really ramped up the there is a force that I'm gonna go ahead and call mortal, not paranormal,
Sure.
uh, who's trying to send a
Right. For that.
message, who's trying to send a message to, you know, maybe all of the students of color, or maybe to Jasmine directly.
Yeah, it's hard to
Uh,
say because there's the dream sequences that Jasmine experiences, and the real events that are occurring are so intermingled. It's hard to really be sure-footed about what you should trust and believe. So yeah, the cross happens, and the other thing that we forgot to mention, I think, the conflict, the reason she's in Gail's office at some point, a lot happens, but Jasmine comes home to find the word "leave" carved in the door of her
with a
room
right
and
with a
a noose
noose.
on the
Yeah,
handle. And so it's like, or no, Gail answers the door and she's like, "What is this?" And Jasmine's like, "I don't know what the fuck this is. I was asleep." And you're like, "You didn't hear anything? Some carved into your goddamn door and you didn't hear it?" It's
yeah,
like it's like the fact that happened when she was asleep. It's all very odd and bizarre.
yeah,
But yeah, the the burning cross happens, and Gail sees it with Jasmine, and it's like, "You got to get away, get away, get away," because
yeah.
fire, and they start freaking out a little bit. I think that that's right around the Thanksgiving break.
That is the Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so
So she's already had the falling out with her roommate, correct?
yep,
Or is
yep,
about to at this point.
yes.
There's a
Um,
party that Jasmine goes to.
right, right,
She's
right.
drinking and dancing, and I think it's Tyler might
Yeah,
be one of the guys that's Amelia's sort of boyfriend, not real boyfriend.
right.
It's college.
Yeah,
They hook up sometimes. You would perceive, you would imagine that
yeah.
they're going for.
So they're making
Uh,
out.
yeah, he comes
Yeah,
on to Jasmine, and
yeah.
she goes along with it because whatever, you're
Yeah.
kissing, you're
She doesn't know
college,
any. She doesn't know any different
right?
because nobody
Right.
told her that they were
Yeah.
dating, right?
Amelia comes in, sees it, and then that's now their relationship is fucked more.
And
But
the
they just
name of that chapter was "I Hate You," and then the last
right.
thing she says, she comes in and she whispers, "I hate you,"
Yeah.
and then we get a new title card.
Yeah, they kind of use it, and it was neat because the way that they did it, you got about them for a period of time. Like the pasting of the cards happened. That like the second one, you forget that it happened, that there was a title card, that they're doing those things, and then they
Right.
say it, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, and that was kind of cool. And like they happen with quicker succession by the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
They pretty much are always dialogue too, which I thought was cool.
uh huh, yeah. I don't know if that just references like certain books that had that or fun. I don't know if it really adds anything. It's like it's a breather. You can sort of see it as chapters, but like it doesn't. It's just kind of
Hmm.
fun. I don't know if it
Yeah,
really has a.
yeah.
It's just
I just
fun, right? Like, is there
yeah.
another reason to have those?
I don't think so. I think it's just kind of neat. Like I enjoyed it. I don't think it would have taken away from the movie if it wasn't
Right.
there. Um,
Yeah. No, just interesting choice.
yeah. Okay, so we're coming up on the climax or the series of climaxes here, right?
Right. The other thing
Um,
that we didn't talk about is that one of the runs that you mentioned, Gail and Liv see these Puritan-esque type woman and daughter near the campus, and Gail I think says like, "I've never seen them this the campus
this
before," and
close
they're like,
comes before.
and Liv's like, well, "Yeah, we should get out of here." And then at some point, Gail's doing her own run over that Thanksgiving break, I think, and
Yeah,
sees them having a burial in the cemetery right there, and she's like just watching it, and they look at her and like questioningly, and
yeah,
then
and she runs off.
they're all white, like they seem like Amish or Puritan type sect of people.
Right.
You don't really understand a whole lot else outside of that.
Yeah.
And it becomes
Uh,
relevant because eventually we're going to get to the phone
right.
call.
Right. So, but before that, we have to have Liv's peer review, um, where this time they're discussing her tenure with her directly.
Yeah,
It's kind of
this
an
is her
interview.
like interview. Yeah,
So, she gets whacked about her publishing, and then she gets hit up on the complaint from Jasmine, and then Gail does try to like
yeah. She baits her
throw her.
like, well, tell us what is going on with the student. Like, just describe more so that we can have better context to support the way that you feel. Because all that it's about is like, I want you. This is a normal argument as a professor. Like, the student's making a play. The student, I'm putting myself in the shoes. Like, the student's being a fucking baby. Like the student used to be their shit in their school, and I get that. That's great, but guess what? Here, I want more from my students. I expect more. I want them to push themselves. You can list a million different fucking things as to why this argument wouldn't be a real argument anymore.
Right.
If I'm trying to get tenure, I'm just gonna sell myself and put them at ease. Like, but Liv is fed up with
Yeah.
that fakeness of it, and she's just like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want to do the song and dance anymore. She kind of throws it back in their face
Right.
about
Um,
quotas, and I can't remember if she actually says overtly like it's because I'm black or something.
yeah, she does. She definitely does.
Yeah,
And I don't think they tell her no, but they definitely put it on hold again.
right.
Um, then we're gonna get a well, Jasmine's gonna keep spiraling out with like another nightmare,
Yeah, this
and
the latest nightmare. She's on her way back to her dorm, and there's people on a tour, a campus tour,
yeah,
and they're all white people looking back at her as she's following them, and it's like she's going to her room, and like they're going to her room as well, and she's looking into the room, and someone's like says like, and what is this that you're showing us? And the tour guide's like, this is an African American student at our university, and it's like, what the did you say? Like,
right,
and she's like, and she looks in, and it's like her sleeping, and she tries to claw herself in, and it's a really cool
yeah.
sequence
Oh my
because she
God,
sees the witch come through, a la The Ring, through
yeah,
the window and puts the
right,
hand down.
yep,
I say the witch, but whatever paranormal monster, she sees it, and it's going after her,
right,
trying to get herself to wake up, and wakes up. So she's way fucking the pressures of everything that she's going on and this story about Margaret Millet and the witch.
yeah.
She's spiraling big
Now
time.
we did forget the diversity commercial.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's a moment, right? I think it's about two-thirds of the way through the movie. Like it literally says this.
Probably that
It
way.
could be halfway. It could have been a little earlier, but
Either
either
way.
way, all the crazy stuff happens after it. Like
Right.
it's almost as if like so that was the setup, and here's the punchline. So
Uh-huh.
they do this commercial where all they get all the students of color, all the faculty of color to do a talking head for this commercial for Ancaster, and then at the
Right.
end, the dean some old white guy in a tie comes on and says, well, diversity is what we stand for, and
Right.
blah 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 blah.
We've seen
It's
it.
just
We've
yeah,
seen it everywhere. Yeah.
right. It's a
It's
total
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's that commercial. Anyway,
Pandering type.
yeah,
We're diverse because we have all these color. Yeah.
yeah.
We are
Okay,
Ancaster.
we are Ancaster. So yeah, so that was in there too, and I think it came at a nice moment where um, it kind of says, okay, now you thought what you just saw was crazy. Here's some crazy shit.
Right.
Okay, so what did we just do? We just did the dream, right? The dream where she sees
Right.
herself. So we're
And
gonna
is this
get.
where she? Oh, right. Because is this where she? Go ahead. Go on. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't it? Is it? She
I don't
runs.
know if it's that dream,
I think
but
she
she's
runs for longer. So I think what we have first is the phone call,
okay.
right?
Uh, no, I feel like the phone call happens and then so there's an event that we're just waiting on describing occur, and I feel like the phone call happens after that happens.
Okay.
What because she has to get Jasmine has to be hospitalized, and
Right.
then
Okay.
some stuff happens. I just can't remember how Jasmine gets hospitalized. What leads to her
All right. So there's a
having
there's a dream sequence where she's running.
yeah
She's running
she
from something.
right
Uh,
the presence the
the
paranormal
presence.
presence the witch that she's seeing.
She
It
gets
might have
into
been yeah
she gets into the dorm room. She opens the window. She's out on the ledge. It's still icy.
yeah
Um, I think her door opens, and then
yeah
almost like a supernatural force, she kind of gets flung from the window. She doesn't really let go,
right.
and then it cuts to her in the hospital, and Gail's there talking to
Hmm. Yeah,
her. Talk to me, honey. Did you slip? Did you fall? Was it an
yeah,
accident? Just trying to sort out what's going on. And Jasmine, I think, blames it on like the school, right? Or does she bring up the witch? I think she brings up
yeah.
the
I think
witch.
she brings out the witch.
I think she
Yeah,
brings up the witch here, and
yeah,
Gail's like, no, that's not real, honey. Like,
right.
um, and she wants to go home. She wants to leave. She just doesn't want to be here anymore. Gail kind of talks her into staying.
Hmm.
Um, to to what end, who knows? But she definitely says that you can get better, things can be better.
Yeah,
Just stay. I'll help you.
right.
So then Gail goes home, gets a phone call, and it's that woman from Act One. Uh, I'm such and such, and I want to talk to you about my daughter, and you need to meet me. Don't hang up, right? And so there's no talk back. It cuts right to her in a car. A Gail's in a car outside of a diner, and then she's in the diner looking around, and then we find this old woman who is dressed like these Amish folk that we've seen
Mm.
throughout the movie. And they sit and they have a conversation. So what she tells um, Gail is that Liv is her daughter,
Yes.
and that Liv is actually white. That Liv's father is white, and like this disturbs Gail on so many levels because they're friends. So she's been lied to, betrayed. She's used as a person of color to advance her career, um,
Well,
etc.
and the thing about it, like with Liv's character, Liv is very light skinned. She
Right,
has dreadlocks, but she is very light complexion. But she does have a darker skin tone. She does not appear, to be Caucasian.
right,
And so this is another thing where I have a bit of a contention with this part of the story a little bit because I question or am frustrated by Gail being so immediately like, now I believe this to be true. The friend that I had that I know, I am so quickly dismissing and don't trust anymore because this crazy old lady said don't, and it's this.
yeah,
I don't like that quick 180. Like, I don't think that she would really believe that. I think that she would know. and I would have to assume that that person would know. But I'm not in a position, especially with the racial uh, barriers there. I can't really understand or appreciate what that would be like.
Right, right.
I just have to question it.
Yeah, I agree to an extent, like without being able to kind of.
And
I I also think that Gail should have talked to her in private
right,
about it
right.
before jumping to conclusions.
It's sort of. Do you remember the whole Rachel Dolezal shit that happened way back when?
No,
Do you remember that? No,
no.
it was a woman, a white woman who identified as black, and was part of the NAACP. I think had a
Oh,
branch or something to that effect. So it made me think of that because I think she even had like similar complexion to Liv's character, and
okay.
she had the dreads. I don't want to make things uncomfortable, but like it was a real thing. I thought of
Okay.
it whenever it was happening because it seemed like that. So here's the only other thing, and I will pause this for just a moment. Not pause, but like adjust. That revelation, I think the conclusion of Jasmine's story happens revelation because at the the wake they're
Oh,
interacting and they're still comfortable with
right, 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 right,
it, you
right.
know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter, but so let's get into
Let's do you want to
Jasmine
let's rewind to Jasmine?
just for a second. So
Yeah.
Jasmine, we get back to her in the hospital,
Yeah.
right? And this is a cool fucking scene. Do you remember this scene? The silhouette
Oh
behind
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
curtain.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. The silhouette behind the curtain. So she gets up. This is after Gal's left and Gal's already had their talk.
right. She
This
just like kind of stirs in the hospital bed and wakes
yeah.
up, and
So,
there's a curtain on the next bed, and she hears a woman, and then there's a red light behind a silhouette of a shape,
yeah.
and it's creepy as shit. And there's things she's saying, "Help me," or I need help or something. Please
Yep.
help me.
Yeah, she
And
pulls the curtain and it's an old white woman and she says, "Oh, calm down. We'll get you some help." And she puts her arm on her shoulder and the woman gets nasty and goes, "Get your black hand off me."
yeah,
And this is a big moment here too. Like,
like fucking brought out her inner Charlton Heston for
yeah,
a minute.
Jasmine is on the edge, right? Like
Yeah,
from everything, from the overt racism, from the subtle racism, from her, she's super paranoid about this witch figure. Maybe it's real,
yeah.
maybe it's not. Maybe she's going crazy because she's
Her
sleepwalking,
grades,
has
she
night.
can't get shit
Yeah.
taken care
So
of.
it's she's a freshman in college too. She's got a ton of shit going on,
No one
and
likes her. Like her friend, she doesn't. Her
yeah,
roommate ended up leaving. We didn't even talk about that, but her
right,
roommate
right,
moved out
moved out. Yep. But
because after the boyfriend stuff.
that's because didn't she get like assaulted in the woods? So like we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, yeah, that was the other thing. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, there's some shit.
she's having a really shitty first
First
year
year. Yeah.
experience at this university.
Um, so she leaves the hospital and she's just kind of like walking. She's in like she's outdoors and she's just walking and
Yeah, she's
kind of
like on
like
the quad, more or less. Yeah,
yeah, she's just like mumbling to herself like I know what I need to do or I figured it out, something like that. I figured it
yeah.
out. And Gail goes to the hospital, I think first. Jasmine's not there.
Right.
Then she goes to the room and she opens the door.
Yeah, she sees the light on,
She sees the light on. Yeah.
and she knows that she shouldn't be there, and she's like questioning it.
Yep.
And so then she rushes back to the room and she finds her body.
Finds her hanging there.
Yeah.
Um, and just just couldn't.
She breaks down. Yeah.
She
She couldn't
loses
save
it.
her.
She
Yeah.
loses it because she thought that specifically she could help Jasmine.
Right.
Um,
And that she's the one that forced her to
Forced her to
stay, that to
stay.
stay. Like,
To
I can
stay.
help. We can get through it together.
Yeah. She could have just let her go. She had an opportunity to let her go and talked her into staying.
Hmm.
And then she had that one experience that kind of broke the camel's back. It kind of reminded me of The Catcher in the Rye, um, how uh, how Holden's like his the incident that sends him over the edge is like so minor, so minuscule to be a singular event, but when you
Right.
compound it with everything that's happened through his whole life, it
Right.
like kind of makes sense that he cracked. So like she has like gone through all of this, and then she tries to help this old white woman, and the reaction is with such disgust
Mm-hmm.
that she's just like, oh, things are never going to change. This is
Yeah.
the way things are going to be forever
Right.
because I'm black. And then
Right.
she goes and hangs herself. Like it's it's like this terrible ending to like a horrible story, but a great story. Like it was great to watch, to experience, and it's not even the end because there's
Right.
they just wrap Jasmine's story here. They got to wrap Gel's story.
Yeah, and it's great storytelling because of just how matter of fact and unfortunate and sad that it is. That this is a people experience this kind of trauma and these kinds of experience these kind of experiences,
Yep.
uh, and it impacts them to horrible ends.
Yeah.
And this just highlights it. And for him to like, you don't see this happen a lot in film in general. Like maybe a drama, you would see something like this occur, but in a horror type film that's addressing it a little bit differently, it doesn't happen like this a lot. This is more unique to handle the story with one of your lead protagonists kind of way. So I commend it for that. It
Oh
was a
yeah.
twist that I didn't really see it coming. You know?
No, no, I definitely so they, I didn't think they were going to go with the paranormal was real. Like I think the haunting. So like the haunting for me is like conceptually racism, right? Racism is the villain
Right,
of the
right,
movie, and it just takes all these different forms of like of stress that she has to deal with.
yeah,
The not being able to sleep, the nightmares, like it's all coming from the same place, and that's the systemic racism that like they just it's just such a part of the culture that it it's everywhere, and
yeah,
I say it's everywhere because it's everywhere is the name of the next title card and what we're about to
yeah.
discuss.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you have to think about it. Like you can never escape it. It's always there. Anytime someone you feel it. Like it sounds awful. It sounds traumatic. And yeah, it's just it's a great way that they're handling it because clearly immersed and impacted 100% the whole time.
Oh
So yeah, let's
yeah,
get to the final thing. They have the wake.
right.
Jasmine's photos up there. Everyone's got candlelight visual.
Yep.
Gail feels so um, like that it was her fault. And then it's shortly thereafter, right after that scene, that I think she
That's
gets
where she gets the phone call, right?
the
Because
revelation
she
to
sees Liv
Liv's
and hugs
character.
Liv at the wake.
And I think, oh, and it's at the wake. I think they find out also like that they should be celebrating Liv because she got tenure, but we can't because we're mourning Jasmine,
Right,
right?
right.
That's the thing. And then this is where Liv lets it slip that she has a brother. She lets it slip in a conversation with Gail. She's like, and Gail's like, I thought you were an only child. And Liv says, well, it's like adopted or something. And so
No, no,
I
no.
just like I can
She says sometimes I tell people I'm an orphan too. Like
right.
she just says horrible family life, brushed it
She
under the
passes
rug.
it off. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I'm
Yeah,
not gonna give you the explanation. It's bad.
they're dead to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like I'm an only child.
Yep.
And so like that raises a flag for Gail, but she's like, "Well, whatever." And then she gets a phone call. She gets the revelation. Guess what? Liv isn't who you think. She's
Right.
my daughter,
She's white.
father. She's white. We can't reach her. She won't. Whatever.
Yeah. So she goes back, and and this is where they're having like a I think they're actually celebrating Liv's tenure now. Like
I
this is
believe
like
so. Yeah.
it's
That's the party.
this is the faculty. It's definitely not mourning Jasmine. Like everybody knows that it happened, but they're here. So like half of them are already drunk. These the faculty,
Yeah.
and she's trying to get Liv to go into the other room with her. She
Yeah,
does
because
ask a
she
few
needs to
times.
talk about this.
Yeah,
She
she's
needs
like,
to fucking talk about it. And this is like another thing where it's like you know what she wants to talk to her about. She needs privacy to talk to her about it. It's a serious fucking thing. And Liv is at the jukebox, the karaoke, the
Oh,
fucking
right,
station, and the guy's like, "What? This is the music I like," and she's like, "No, let me get some." And she's talking with certain dialect, and
right. She's definitely
and
like
yeah,
hip hop slang.
right, and
Right.
she's talking in a certain kind of way like that, and like you're hearing that under the guise or knowing the context from Gail's character that she's white, from what that character said. That so you're like, what she's saying and how she's saying it is really fucked up. And then she starts playing a very culturally lamed song, and she's singing, and Gail's just like, "What the fuck are you doing? You have to stop. You can't fucking do this." And Gail can't have the privacy anymore. She just has to get it out.
Yeah.
And I think she just blurts it out like she
She's
grunts,
well, she,
"You're
yeah.
white, right?"
She turns the volume all the way down too, and
And
everybody watches
everything
this
stops.
little
And
freak out.
yeah,
You're white, blah blah blah, and Liv comes right back with, yeah, 'cause my mom thought it would be better than being the bastard child of a black man, right? So okay, so right mom, but the biological father, black man, who knows what the story is? We don't need to
yeah,
know. Um,
right.
obviously raised by a white quote unquote father. So yeah, his her father is white. So it all makes sense. The story makes sense from the perspective of the actual
of the
mother.
of the mother, but she is still identifies as African American
And as
because she
and
was
of
born
course
of
would reject all of the white Mennonite,
the
like,
whiteness of her. Yeah,
yeah, the
of
white
course,
Mennonite culture, because I mean, you know, who wouldn't?
sure. Uh, and but so like this is just an amazing Regina Hall performance right here because she's so broken
Yeah,
and raw in this scene, and she's like
yeah,
it's so visceral,
yeah.
and emotions are just pouring out of her, and she
She,
just starts to she's
she doesn't even care. She doesn't even
yeah,
care what the excuse was,
yeah,
and that it is even more tragic of a story. She just goes over the top with it's you, it's all of you. It's all here. It's everywhere is what she says, talking
yeah,
about the racism.
yeah,
Everybody. She ends her tirade with, "I came here and I thought I was the master, and I ended up being the maid."
yeah. So things the last conclusion I think of the story then that happens after there's a
Sh
calm after the storm here
yeah.
where things calm back down and she's sitting in her corner, right? And
Uh,
the people are talking. Is that or
yeah.
was is that all before? Yeah, that's after
Yeah.
she
She
calms
eventually
down.
she'll leave, but she hasn't left yet.
Everyone calms down, and she's in her chair and she's listening to people, and she starts looking at people. She starts kind of having visions almost. She sees a guy, and she looks at the portrait on the wall. The guy that she just saw at the party is the guy in the portrait.
Right.
The three men playing
Playing
cards
cards. There's a
are the
photo.
three
They
men
all
in a
look
photograph
exact.
of the
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
The other guy that was the one that was talking about Barack, maybe she'll be president.
Yeah.
That guy is a photograph from 1800s or
Yeah.
whatever, also right here. So
Yeah.
every single character that she's been interacting with, it's almost as if she's mind melded them with a historical person like that existed in the old white Ancaster College or
Right.
University or whatever,
Yep.
and she can't disassociate. She
Yeah.
sees the historical creation and rooted systemic racism that existed, and she it's tainting everything that she sees, every relationship, everything that she's able to interact. She can't help but see its past and how wrong it was, and what it's trying to uh, pretend like it isn't now, or
Right.
ignore, or say it's not a real thing anymore
Yeah.
because we have
She
these
says.
token people.
It's never gonna change, and just gets up and walks out. And she gets stopped by campus security.
Yeah. A white campus security
Yeah,
guard.
yeah.
It's like,
Hey, can I
what
see
are
your
you doing
badge?
here? Can I see your ID?
And she goes, no. And he goes, what do you mean no? She's like, no, I don't work here, and walks away.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the exit's that way,
Yeah.
and then it fades to black.
Yeah.
And I mean, the movie was phenomenal. Like
Hmm.
the suspense was good. The horror angle was pretty much just the witch fake out. Um,
Right.
uh,
Yes. Yeah.
but
That was
yeah,
really the horror of it
yeah.
with
But it,
that story.
but as far as like the suspense, with what's going on with Jasmine and just the drama of it all. I mean, I was definitely strapped in for this movie. Like
Yeah.
for Hellbender, I looked at my phone a few times, and I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
But this was excellent, and I don't know where these bad ratings are coming from. Well, I mean I do. It's
Yeah,
just
I know, and that's what's fucking bullshit about it is that you
yeah.
know that it's just because of that stigma that people will have. Oh, I don't want my film to make statements about shit. I want it to be complete escapism. There's that angle. There's people that just really hate fucking dealing with race and want to pretend like it's not a thing that impacts other people when it
Hmm.
fucking is, and we should address it, and you have to acknowledge
Sure.
to deal with it to move forward. Like that's definitely what this is because yes, I agree 100% with the way that you felt about it. I felt the same way. I was completely experiencing it the whole time. I think
Oh
it was
yeah.
heavy-handed sometimes, but it didn't impact it negatively. I
Right.
love the paranormal twist to it that
Yeah.
it's sort of because it's like you don't know what to trust and believe, and you because you want to think that there is this supernatural thing to explain or make sense because it's a in part of your mind for me at least it's like I'd rather it be something like that than be shitty racism in this fucking thing. Like
Right. Right.
let it be this preposterous witch story, and not just shitty fucking awful things. And so
Yeah.
the way that it blends it in is really fucking high level. It's super well crafted, and the two man between
Yeah.
Regina Hall and Zoe Renee, they were amazing.
Oh yeah. With subject matter like this, filmmakers can have a tendency to get preachy, and and I never once, like rolled my eyes at a scene through this film. Like I think it was just perfectly done, um, as far as the statements it was trying to make. I never felt like I was being lectured,
Right.
about racism, and
No.
that I can definitely appreciate. From a filmmaking standpoint, like you want to get your message across, but you don't want to beat us over the head with it, and because that's going to turn people off, and it
Yeah.
definitely didn't do that to me.
No,
Um,
but I can see where a lot of like I thought some of it was unnecessary, and so it didn't negatively impact me. But I can definitely understand how some people, I don't know, you expect the most out of people that they're to be good people and honest people that can be impacted or affected by kind of stuff like this, but they just fucking they don't want to, or unwilling, or unable to
yeah,
separate themselves and put themselves in another person's fucking shoes.
yeah,
If you could just do that, just try to the world would be a much better place. This film tackles difficult fucking issues
yeah,
masterfully, no pun intended, and just an awesome movie.
yeah,
For me, let me do my conclusion. My score.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, I would feel like it very well could be an 8, but I don't know. It might be a 7 overall. It's like it's this is like a one shot movie, something you see. Uh, Get Out, I'll rewatch because it has really cool graphic horror elements, that deals with race. Where it's still a horror movie. It's talking about race, but it's horror. This is more like making a statement. It's a dramatic movie more so about race. So I'm kind of wavering. I'm not sure if I feel 100% one way or the other. I might give it an 8 just because of how well crafted it was. That I think I'm leaning towards 8 more than 7.
All right. So before you commit, I would give this movie an 8, a solid
Okay.
8.
Okay.
Um, and that kind of breaks my rules because an 8 is something I know I'm gonna rewatch probably multiple times.
Right.
This movie I will probably rewatch at least one more time, but probably not more than that.
Yeah.
Um, but I know I will watch it again, and so
Yeah.
it gets an 8 for just composition,
Hmm.
story. I loved the paranormal misdirect was great. So you're wondering if it's an actual witch or if it's in her head and she's going crazy or if it's just a metaphor for all this there's just the stress of having to exist in this place where you're essentially a unwanted foreigner in
Yeah.
the eyes of pretty much everyone, except your one safety net who, she says she's there for you, but she wasn't actually physically there when Jasmine needed her. She was
Mm.
off attending to other things. It wasn't Gail's fault she wasn't there, but
Right.
she didn't have the safety net when she needed it, and she met the terrible ends she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah. I mean, I think I started, and my first initial reaction was probably closer to the 7, but as I've lived with it for more time, and especially after our conversation, like I definitely feel it. I feel an 8
Right,
is
right.
deserved.
Yeah, I just feel it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
would I give this movie a 7 if I wasn't emotionally committed to it? Probably. The way I feel about the movie, I have to give it an 8.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I will finalize it and lock it
All right.
in.
Okay, episode 15 in the books started off a little light with some hell bending and had a pretty heavy finish there with Master.
Yeah.
Um,
How cool. Yeah. I don't. Uh, the people in it were really great. I don't know if we expect a whole lot of horror genre from the director.
oh,
Unlikely.
Mariama Diallo. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she only really had a short under her belt
Right.
before Master.
So
Yeah, White
we'll see. As far
Devil.
as but directing in general, like this movie was well told. The elements tried to come were not the easiest to corral, and subject matter for sure not. So has a promising hope and
Yeah, so her the short that made her famous, or at least got her this movie, was called Hair Wolf, and it's the staff of a black hair salon fend off a strange new monster. White women intent on sucking the lifeblood from black culture.
oh shit, that
Um,
sounds
yeah, it's a
hilarious.
12-minute horror comedy short, and uh, so
I gotta see this now.
maybe we will see her in horror.
Yeah, maybe.
Her other short is called Sketch. A police sketch artist who believes he has stumbled upon the suspect from one of his drawings becomes convinced he knows how to do the right thing, and that's a drama mystery short. Um,
Well, shit. Also, White Devil sounds
uh,
like it
White
sounds like it has some
Devil.
cop
Yeah,
short
comedy
horror
horror. A
comedy.
black woman's quarantine experience takes a disturbing turn when the dynamic she has with her white
We're gonna have
partner
to we're gonna have to see if we can find these because it
is
sounds
impacted by
the
events
way that
happening
she's
inside the
told
house.
stories was definitely creative and interesting, and
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to watching. Plus, it could just be like horror comedy that's dealing with some of these things. Could be
Oh,
fucking
we should
hilarious.
do a shorts episode where it's almost like a review anthology show. Just
So do your shorts episode.
a whole episode of shorts. That would be good. Um, yeah. So
Sorry,
who
I'm like
knows?
flipping through my book trying to find my
That's all
goddamn
right.
calendar because I'm thinking what we have.
Oh, well, yeah. What's next week have in store for us?
I don't fucking know, man. Let me pull up my calendar that we were talking.
Oh, sure.
We can do a moment of dead air. You have to vamp, Nate, vamp.
Vamp. I don't know what that means.
Vamp? Oh, come on. Yeah, you fucking do. It's
I'm
like
I'm
when
I'm
you're
I'm
stretching.
old. Oh, sure,
You're just
sure.
gonna ad lib on some random
Yeah.
shit and fill the air while you pull up something that's gonna reference.
So I watched Studio 666 twice to get ready for this week's episode, and then we called an audible yesterday. Um, and I don't know if it'll get back into the rotation or not. I'll just talk about it for a moment. It was great. As far as horror comedies go, the kills were inventive and used a nice mix of practical and CG. The practical were insanely good, by the
Yeah,
way, in this movie. Also, um, the fake band Black Widow or Dream Widow in the movie, the Foo Fighters recorded a full album as them. So you can get on Spotify now. I think there will be a physical release of Foo Fighters performing as Dream Widow, full metal album, based on the fake band from the movie Studio 666. Um, all good. Check out Dream Widow. Check out Studio 666. We're rest in peace, Taylor. Uh, I didn't really even know who he was because I only know Dave Grohl, but after watching the movie, I kind of did form an attachment to him as an actor and a musician. Um, so yeah, he obviously will be missed. Foo Fighters just announced today they canceled their all their tour
yeah.
dates. So it's definitely a sad day for music.
Okay, so as far as not to pull away,
Yeah. Oh, no, no, no. I was just vamping.
dick. So the one film that should be releasing this weekend that we probably aren't going to be able to get our hands on yet, unless we magically get a screener before then, is Numi Rapace's "You Won't Be Alone."
Ooh,
is
yes.
is opening this
Oh,
Friday.
I want to see that
So
so bad.
we're gonna have to see if it's hitting our screen theaters. We're in Central New York, folks. We have theaters near us, but they don't always get. Most of these films don't get released except in a couple big cities the first week, which we're obviously not in. So usually the
Yeah.
second week is when it might hit us. Um, so we'll see. But that's one that's going to be on the horizon. And then with that, I think isn't Morbius also? Is it Morbius might be the second weekend in April?
Morbius looks like Thursday, March 31st. I can see it.
Okay, so all right,
That's
so
this. That's 2 days.
yes, so there's a potential for that. Again, that's a concern. Don't know what to expect because again, it's be a foray into their. But I don't know how much you can believe that. I think that's sort of like lip for them for the most part.
Yeah, I don't know about Morbius. It says
Well, we were, yeah,
action adventure.
yeah, I know. It's just I think what they added horror in because he's sort of a vampiric character. It's like saying
He's
Blade
he,
is horror,
he's
which I guess is
Morbius.
fair.
Morbius, the living vampire.
There you go.
Because
Right.
he's not undead and he sucks plasma. He's a plasma sucker.
The other one, which I'm not sure, is Uma.
Ooh,
I haven't.
Ama! Ama!
Ama.
Ama, that's how it's pronounced. It's Korean for mother. Um,
Okay.
it's
Uh,
playing in New Hartford right now.
I know. I'm not sure because I've not heard great things.
5.2 on IMDb, 71% of Google users like the movie. Sandra Oh. Um, yeah, I don't know. They passed on Aquafina for this one.
What?
Aquafina, you don't know Aquafina?
No, I know Aquafina. I don't get the reference with Uma.
Oh, she's well, she
Was she? Did she
she pl-
audition? Is
she
that what you're saying?
no, she plays Korean and well, she plays Chinese too. She's played a few different
Right. Yeah. So okay.
races.
Yeah.
So I'm
It
just,
doesn't have good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and so that was like a little
yeah.
bit. The
Well,
wind was knocked out of my sails.
it
Not that that
it
guides me to watch it. I'm just saying.
it is rated PG-13, but
But yeah.
it is produced by Sam Raimi.
Oh, that's promising. Kind of.
Yeah, in the way that Drag Me to Hell was produced by Sam Raimi.
Okay. Now hold on a second. You said that as if you didn't like Drag Me to Hell.
Oh, I enjoyed Drag Me to Hell. I don't think it was very good. I
But
thought
okay.
it was funny, and I
So
enjoyed
Drag Me to Hell
I enjoyed
might have
Justin
been
Long.
ahead of its time. I haven't seen Drag Me to Hell since the first time I saw it when it probably hit Redbox.
Sure.
And I'm thinking it might have been ahead of its time. I consider that the only way I'll watch that movie again, because I would think when I watched it the first time, is I watch it under the same lens that I watched *Malignant*.
Okay. Oh,
I
sure.
think
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
it's self-aware, making fun of it, and it's just have fun.
Yeah.
Ridiculous shit's gonna happen. I thought it was executed that pretty well. I'll
Yeah.
have to rewatch it.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. Like it was entertaining, but it wasn't like great. Like yeah.
Right.
I also had way high hopes for it. So
Sure.
I was with the guy who went into the theater like going like fuck yeah, and at the end I was like it was okay. And then
Okay.
and I've watched it a couple times since then. It's like yeah, it's a good movie, but I still have that initial disappointment
Right.
from like oh my god, the guy who did Evil Dead, my favorite franchise, is made another movie,
Right.
and
Like when we watched Overlord together.
oh god, that was terrible.
The
I don't
Nazi
even
zombie
know
movie.
why we went to see that. Was it
It
because
was
of
a
the?
fucking Nazi zombies, and there was
Yeah,
a group of us, and we're like, this should just be fun and great, and
it was still fun.
yeah, I still had fun watching it, but it
Like
wasn't
I had
like
fun watching it. I didn't enjoy the
right,
movie at all, but it was fun because we were all there together.
right. Yes, that's
Yeah.
why it was fun. So those
Well,
are the ones that are on my list that I know
we
available. We'll have to
we
see.
we do have a series of uh, other movies. Hold on, let me get to my list.
Oh yes, that other list.
The other list, the everything that's been released in 2022 list so far.
Right.
Horror.
I'm still hoping that we'll see Deadstream pop up somewhere on a streaming service. South by Southwest. Soft and Quiet.
Okay.
I have
All
pop up.
right. So what's the new stuff? The new stuff is, of course, Studio 666. We have the Bunker Game, which has an incredibly terrible review or score.
Yep.
Is Cold Wind Blowing available yet? It is. Cold Wind Blowing has a 7.9 out of 10. When a group of young friends take a trip to a remote mountain to get away from their families for Christmas, their stress-free getaway turns into a nightmare trapped in a cabin by a supernatural creature. They fight for survival. It's a Canadian film,
Okay.
and has
There's
that's a
been
crazy high rating.
good Canadian films.
Yeah.
I want to say Come True was a Canadian film.
Okay. Okay. So that we could definitely put that on the list.
What was it called again?
Cold Wind Blowing. If you want to IMDb it while I keep going down the list.
Yeah. I will also mention. Why don't you peruse the list real quick while I talk about it? Did you watch No Exit?
I
It was on Hulu.
didn't. I didn't, but that's
Okay.
on a list too, right?
Yeah, the list of movies that fucking suck.
Oh no. So we're gonna skip that one, huh?
That's my hot take.
Hot take.
I thought it was pretty garbage,
Okay. All right. All right. Oh yeah, I see it
and
there.
I've seen some people in the Twitterverse talk about it and really, you know, like as if it's up here and it's not. It's down there. It's not that. It's more like a thriller than it is thing.
Yeah.
And when it's trying to thrill, it's not fucking. It's very formulaic. It's very predictable. It's not different or interesting in any kind of way. It's got the guy from fucking Allstate in it. Uh, so it's It's nothing special. It's a fine movie, but it's yeah. That's all I got to say about that.
All right. The other highly rated horror movie that I have from 2022 is called Those Who Walk Away. After Max and Avery meet on a social media app for a first date, they end up in a haunted house only to realize the trauma they share may either save them or erupt into an unforgettable nightmare.
Okay.
Um, so that's got a 6.3 on IMDb, um, and Cold Wind Blowing has a
Oh right.
7.9 on IMDb.
Yeah, I remember Those Who Walk Away looking interesting with Boo Boo.
Yeah, Boo Boo. So I think those could definitely both be on the docket,
Okay.
and then maybe You Won't Be Alone. And what was the other one that's already playing? Oh,
The cold. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, what was the? There's one that just fucking came out just that is a animated.
Oh yeah, it's on. Is it on Shutter?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It looked cool. I didn't look a lot into it, but my interest was piqued.
The Spine of
'Cause-
Nights.
yeah, because people talked about like heavy metal shit.
Yeah, we could do that too. I think there's another animated horror that just came out. We could do both of them.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
For me, animated horror. You saw the animated Blood Last Vampire, right?
Blood the Last Vampire, the original?
Yeah, the animated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like to me like it's perfect. It's only like 40 minutes, I think, or
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's like the length of an episode,
Right, but
but
it's so good.
it was so good. Yeah, it was really good.
Castlevania was great on
Oh,
Netflix.
loved Castlevania. Yep. All
I don't know.
right. So,
Spine of Night just looks cool.
which one?
Spine of Night.
Oh
It
yeah,
just looks
Spinal.
cool.
Yeah, it looks crazy good. Um, oh, I hit play on accident. All right.
We'll see. So we got some
Yeah, we'll see.
options.
We got some options. Stay tuned to the Twitter for the panel of what we've got coming up. Of course, check out our Etsy shop where you can get sweet shirts like the lamb that
Whoa,
that
yeah! Look at that bad boy.
I'd wear that shirt every single day. That's all I'm saying.
It's pretty sweet.
It's pretty
It
sweet.
is. It is my best-selling shirt currently in the shop. So
Yeah.
we are still running 10% off until the end of the month. Promo
All right.
code save 10.
All right. So, for the podcast for the recently deceased, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the Twitch and the YouTube and the Twitters. I am Nate Roberts,
I am Rodney Godek. Take care.
and we'll see you next week.